I feel like there should be a little music,
Da da
Alfredo,
da
like
da 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 da. I wish that you could like DJ in the beginning. That would be amazing.
I feel
Like
like there
just,
should be a
wow.
little
You
music.
know, we could make that happen. We just
I
have to
think so. Well,
think about it ahead of time.
let's make it happen.
We can make it happen for next time,
All
for
right,
sure.
I'm in.
For sure.
Has my
For
vote.
sure. Thank you very much. Well, welcome everybody to our Monday R&B Raise My Bar live. We have some amazing guests today. And first, as we like to do for anyone who's joining for the first time, we like to start out with a little bit of what this is actually about. And to tell us, please welcome my very gorgeous co-host, Mr. Alfredo Lewis. Alfredo, what is R&B?
Talk about gorgeous, by the way. I feel like your hair is getting better and better every week.
Oh, you're so sweet.
I'm just putting it out there.
Thank you.
Guys, we're so excited. It's Monday again. Whoever says that they don't like Mondays, Sheri and I love Mondays because we get to connect with all of you guys and start our R&B week off right on Mondays. 1 p.m. EST to 4 p.m. EST. It's a cycle. It's a week-long thing, but we start off Mondays with 3 hours of free education brought to you guys with incredible artists, such iconic and talented artists from all walks of life of the industry, bringing you education from business building, color, cutting, styling. We've had it all, and we're going to continue to have it all. Anything you can think of regarding education to help you guys level up during this time and beyond is what we're going to be bringing you. It continues throughout the week with tomorrow. I have spilled the tea on my page on Instagram, and we have 2 incredible artists this week. It's going to be Constance Robbins and Patty Rodriguez. I'm super excited. These ladies are powerhouses and they're so fun. And they're going to actually be sharing some hair fun tips and tricks for you guys and hair hacks on my page tomorrow. Wednesday, we do an Ask Me Anything on @Sheri Doss. And on my page @Alfredo_Lewis, where we want to hear from you guys. What are your needs? What questions do you have? Really pertaining to what we're all going through together right now, as a family, really, around the world. And also just any questions that you have about business or anything that you may need. And Sheri and I both talk about that. And Sheri has incredible guests on Thursdays. Do you want to walk them through a little bit about what happens on your page on Thursdays at 1 p.m. EST?
Yes, absolutely. Alfredo, thank you so much.
Yeah.
So Alfredo definitely has like the hair gods, I would call it, on his page. And then we wanted to split it up for you a little bit and give you some options. So on Thursday, we really focus about business, we focus about self. So it's like personal and professional development. This coming Thursday, we have the one, the only, the very entertaining and also lots and lots of knowledge, Mr. Peter Millard. And Peter, for those of you that don't know Peter is somebody who for years has been helping us to design spaces. He designed spaces for inside our industry as well as outside our industry, and certainly has a lot of this in mind. He has some resources and some things to help us all as we are looking at reopening and beyond. And so he's the only guest, and when you join me on Thursday, you'll understand why. But if you want to get a lot of hot tips, if you want some knowledge, and if you want to also be entertained, then you can come to my house where my 7-pound killer has decided that she does not like the doorbell. So I'm going to excuse myself for 1 minute. Thank you, Alfredo. I'm going to go tend to her while you share your thought for the day, and I'll be right back.
I will. And you know what? Go ahead. But I think Houndy is the honorary mascot, you guys, of R&B education. Houndy makes fun appearances throughout our broadcast, usually every week. And who doesn't love a dog? I don't know. For me, if you don't love dogs, you can't be friends with me. I'm a super dog. I'm just an animal lover, actually. So I'm all about Houndy. My thought for the day, Sheri and I always just share kind of where our head's at. It was an interesting weekend for me because, bringing it back to hair, Sheri. Hi, Sheri. I was saying that Houndy needs to be the mascot of R&B because, hello, Houndy is the R&B mascot. I just decided.
Yeah.
But for me, it was an interesting weekend because I'll bring it back to hair. You'll see where I'm going. I realized something this weekend. During this whole pandemic that we're going through as an industry together, I feel like I'm having thoughts every week. I guess we all are. We're all in different phases of this. As you say, the states have changed, Sheri, or, and I think we talk about how those keep changing. But I reached out to people outside of the industry because I can sometimes get caught up in, as you are, like, I'm here to serve the hairdresser. And it's so important to me that I talk to hairdressers so much that sometimes I'm like, oh, wait, I need to call like my best friend or, somebody that's not in the industry, because I'm talking so much to our brothers and sisters out there in our industry. And my friends and family are in such different states of change right now, and they're all in a different place. I told you earlier, my best friend, who I love dearly, he hasn't shaved since this started. And he's somebody that is like a fashionista, always so buttoned up and clean cut. And it was just like, I was surprised, to be honest. And it made me think of our industry right now, because that's what's going on in our industry. Everybody's in a different state right now, and we need to be super compassionate and loving towards each other right now. Like, just because I may be ready, if my salon was opening, to go and open my salon and do everything that needs to be done to be compliant, I've got it all set. If somebody's not ready, that's okay too. Like, this is not only that going on with like guidelines, but it's also an emotional thing for each person, and everybody's mental state right now is in a different place. And talking with people outside of the industry made me think about what's going on inside, and that it's okay. Like, everybody's in a different place right now, and that's okay. And I think we need to understand, like, if you're wherever you're at doesn't mean that everybody's going to be where you're at. And I'm guilty of this. It's easy for me to be like, well, I'm okay with it. Why aren't they? Or this is what I'm doing. I'm set up. I've got everything ready to go, or whatever. And I'm not just talking about this situation, just in life.
Yeah.
I can be guilty and tell on myself. And, it's something I'm realizing through this, that we need to be more compassionate and understanding of each other than ever. And there is no right or wrong, I think, right now. If it's what you're feeling, it's valid. So just to be super conscious of that is my thought of the day, and just be easy on each other, we're all in a different time right now, and our minds are all over the place, and that's okay.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that, Alfredo. For me, and thank you everyone for bearing with me as I tended to our mascot.
Yes.
She's okay now. She has not attacked anyone. That's the good news. And I don't know. She's funny. There are the stages of change, right? And it's interesting because we go through them ourselves. I think that, I see that Lindsay's saying here that everyone has good and bad days, even those who have stayed working. And my message today, or my thought for the day, is really, I was having which I think I'll explore this because there's not enough time to talk about it right now. Mm-hmm. But it's really about, I had remembered a book that I read a long time ago, and it's not really the content of the book, because I think it's maybe needs to be updated, not only because it's an older book, but also because of the times that we're in now. But more importantly, what it made me think about is an athlete, right? And the fact that we are, let's say we decided to, I used the example this morning when I was talking to you guys about my mom. My mom is an ex-bodybuilder, competitive, won awards, never came in below, she always placed in the top 3 in any one of the competitions that she did. And I remember what her day-to-day looked like. And so every day it included going to the gym, certainly, so that she could build her muscles, and eating reasonably healthy, with Sunday morning being not a cheat day, but a cheat meal. And usually that cheat meal consisted of pancakes, which I always loved that day, to be very honest, because the rest of the week was not what I would call gourmet food. It was egg whites with salsa, boiled chicken, and broccoli. And
I love broccoli.
Broccoli?
You didn't like broccoli?
well, when you're a kid, I don't think you like
Yeah, that's
broccoli.
true. I grew into it. It was an
And so
acquired taste.
now, like I hated, even I'm a vegan now, but when I are plant-based, so when I wasn't, I still didn't like chicken because I had like this memory of chicken just being so bad. And I think that what I then started to think about was what her day to day looked like before competition. Okay. And that changed. And before competition, it meant doing cardio 2 times a day, right?
Mm.
So getting up, doing the bike first thing in the morning, doing her weight training, and then doing the bike before she went to bed because you're trying to lean out and sort of suck the skin to the muscle so that you can see all that definition. And then it also included a robust change in her food, right? So there was no more cheat day. There was a dramatic cut in things to again sort of, especially as she got really close to that competition day, where it would reduce any salt, anything that might make her bloated, anything that might reduce the ability to see the muscle when you're in competition weight, if you will. And so what I was thinking actually is that I can appreciate that we are in these different phases, right? And I have said all along that we need to honor those phases,
Yeah.
right? We need to honor them, acknowledge them, honor them, but I've also said to move out of them as quickly as possible, not to ignore them or suppress them, but to move out of them as quickly as possible. And I think if let's pretend we are preparing for a marathon, there's going to be times in that preparation. Now, just to be clear, I've never even wanted to run a marathon, so I'm going to go off of things that I know from friends of mine. But there's, as you're in training, there's going to be days you don't want to run the marathon. There's going to be days that you don't want to run, but guess what? You're training for a marathon, and you have to be prepared, and you need to run anyway. There's going to be days where you get back from your run, and your feet are going to be blistered, your toes are going to be jacked, you're going to be cranky, you're going to feel that pain, you're going to not feel like you want to carry on, right? But you need, if your goal is to carry on. And so it made me think a little bit of this and our friend Conrad actually said it this way, and I'll try and wrap this up in the next couple minutes. But you're running this marathon called life, right? And so I wrote down 5 things that I think I would like to see everyone do. And I think there's going to be days you don't want to do this shit, but guess what? You're going to need to be ready for that competition, for that marathon, for that bodybuilding competition, and you're
Yep.
going to need to be in tip top shape, right?
Yep.
So the first thing is to identify the personal meaning, right? So what is the personal meaning of you standing behind the chair, of you being a salon owner, of you maybe you're not a stylist, maybe it's that you are in the spa industry, a manicurist, etc. But what is the personal meaning? Why do you do what you do? And really lock into that, because that should be shaping the actions that you're taking today to prepare for tomorrow. If I had a very personal mission that I needed to prove to myself that I could overcome something I never wanted to do, which is run a marathon by the time I'm 50. Well, guess what? That's in about 13 months from now. And so I don't have the luxury. I wouldn't have the luxury of just blowing it off or waiting or procrastinating. The second thing is to identify, what does success look like to you and how will it feel? Right? What will it feel if you go back to the salon fully prepared for your, in your competition weight
Yep.
physicality? What would it feel like for you? The second is to set internal and external goals. So external goals, these are very quantitative, right? Like when I first go back, I'm going to want to have, obviously want to have my salon set up and have my PPE equipment, etc. But then also, what are some other goals? Like I want to be able to get, 25% of my clientele in within the first 3 weeks. I want to be able to get all of my clientele in within the first 2 months. What are those quantitative goals that you have, and make them very specific? And the other goal is setting internal goals. So emotionally, my well-being, this is what I want to feel like. The next fourth goal is getting your gear. And this is everything from what gear you need in the salon to make those goals happen. It could be getting yourself a financial coach that you've maybe never had before to help you set up those financial goals so that you can protect yourself in the future. But what gear, whether that's a human resource or physical resources, do you need in order to get into shape? And the last one is get a coach. And what I mean by that is you need somebody not only to bounce these ideas off of and to tell you whether A, you're being too conservative, two, you're being too aggressive, maybe you're trying to do too much, but also to hold you accountable to your goals. So those are the things that I was sort of thinking, if I were going to run a marathon, when I watched my mom prepare for her bodybuilding competitions, those are the things that she would put into place. And I think right now we are preparing for the biggest competition. And it's not really competing against each other, but it's the competition to get back in the game of our lives as hairdressers and hairstylists. And so that's where my mind is at, Alfredo.
I love because it's okay to feel what you're feeling and to have compassion for each other and realize that everybody's all over the map right now with where they're at, but then like what do you do with that?
Yeah.
And you're right, to your point, you can't just sit in it forever. So what things can you do? So I love that you said that. I feel like I need to call my best friend later today and say, hey, there's 5 things
Yeah,
that I
that'd
want
be
you to start
nice.
doing. Well, we talked about it yesterday. I said, so how do we move? I said, how do we move out of this? Like, this is where you are and that's okay. But what can we do as your best friend? What can I help you with to like help you start moving back to where you need to be. And so we had a really good talk, but I love that. So I think we need to I don't know, make sure that people have those 5 things somehow.
Well, I'll work on it. Like I
Yeah.
said, you know me, I just
I
sort
like
of
the gear part was my favorite part. The gear.
marinate on things and then
Yeah.
it comes out. So
Yep.
that's where I'm at. We'll make sure that we share it somehow. You and I will figure out, along with Casey and Conrad, how to figure out how to do that best. But today we've got a few people on board here with us that are going to help us with gear, right? So preparing ourselves, they're going to help us understand exactly what to do and how to do it. What I love about this next person coming up, well, first, I've got a long ass history with her. In fact, for those of you that have heard my story about how I got into the industry, she was one of the first people at the big Redken artist training that I went to. And we were relaunching styling. That's a whole nother story, but we were relaunching styling and it was called Style You Can Count On. And I remember thinking to myself, this is the funniest lady I've ever met in my entire life, and simultaneously inspirational. And since then, having, the opportunity to get to know her, she's a multi-award winning stylist. First multi finalist, and then multi-award winning stylist. She worked as an ambassador, the global ambassador for Redken for years, decided to go out and do her own education called Rare, which was a huge success. And then one day decided she wanted to come back and be, lock arm in arms with a family again. And we brought her back for a while as the head of Purology. And then her and I had a conversation, and I'll boil it down to this. She said, I want to wear black and I don't want to wear beige anymore. Not really.
Understood.
That's not really how it went, but she felt like the original home that she started her artistic career with, that she wanted to come back there, and I couldn't be happier to have welcomed her back with open arms. You can see her every Friday. She does Friday Night Live, which is really close to Saturday Night Live. Actually, it's got all the skits and all the fun and all of the action as well as some hot tips and a great community of people that engage really well with each other while they're watching. And again, has a lot of hot tips. You can see videos that she created for us on our RMB channel here. If you have not yet done it, please subscribe below, hit the little bell so that you can get updated, because she has, good job, Alfredo, because she has put some videos on there on how we can help our clients, specifically during COVID, how to style their hair. But let's be honest, some states, some salons are choosing not to dry their use hair dryers in the salon, which means you can still use these to help your clients when you go back. An amazing hairstylist, an amazing hair cutter, innovative, and really just someone I enjoy immensely hanging out with and miss her terribly. And that is our very own Ruth Roche. So please, everybody, give it up for Ruth.
Ruth!
Hey!
Welcome, Ruth.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
Welcome, honey. Yay!
We're excited.
I feel good because I saw you a little on Friday, and then I saw you yesterday on Sammy's socialathon, and now I get to see you again, and so I'm feeling a little like we're spending time together again.
Yes, it feels good to know that you're in the room.
I am in the room. I am in the room. So today, Ruth is going to share with us some very strategic sectioning, some fast hot tips for when we go back post-COVID. And is there anything, Ruth, that you want to say to the community that's watching? We've got people showing you some love. Susan Bentley's like, woohoo, Ruth. Somebody loves Madonna behind you, by the way, Alfredo.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I do too. I love that.
Lots of hearts, lots of hands up, lots of clapping, lots of love for you, Ruthie. So what do you want to say to this amazing audience that's watching today?
Well, when you were going over the 5 things, I was taking notes, and I think about what I think the most important thing for me is why we would do what we do, and through all the challenges that we're going to have going back into, or people that are already back into the world of the salon, is why do we do it, And I teach and share stuff with hairdressers because I want people to be able to relax behind the chair and just do hair and not have to think about, what am I doing? Why am I da-da-da? I want people to relax and enjoy the experience as an artist, So that's one of you made me think of that. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome, Ruth.
But anything that I just want to share as much as I can in the next little bit with you guys on, quick ways to get to an end result. I'm going to be working with dry hair cutting, which a lot of us are going to be doing. And just some tips on how to get, there's a million ways to do a long layered haircut. There's a million ways to cut a bob, and I'm going to share with you a way. It's not the only way, but it's a way that you can go.
Yeah, you know what? And I love that because things resonate with different people. Different things resonate with different people, right? So I was on the socialathon. For those of you that missed it, you can go to Sam Via's YouTube page and you can watch the whole 11 something hours. It's all on there. But I was on from morning all the way until the bitter end. I only missed a little to take Houndy on a WALK and to eat and to take some technical breaks, if you will. But what I loved is that there were some repetitive things, certainly, but I loved just the approach and looking at things from a different angle and then making it our own, right? So I can't wait to see what you have to share with us.
Cool. Yeah, and even if it's one little thing, yesterday I also was watching all day. Oh, look who's coming.
Her color is beautiful.
Gorgeous.
Oh, her color was done by George Garcia. So, yeah.
Gorgeous
Beautiful
work, George, right?
Yeah. Love working with George. Okay. There we go. So this is my model, and she has a long layered haircut. And I've seen a lot of people doing a lot of layers, different ways, similar ways, like you just said. I'm going to share with you one way to get here, and it's very, very quick. So I wanted to show you one that's finished with wave in the hair. But
beautiful.
You can also, and you see where the links are sitting here in the front. Sorry, I'm still getting used to everything being the opposite. There we go. So it's got a nice, almost like a curtainy fringe, but it's a face framing situation. So I'm going to start with that. We'll bring her back. And I want to show you the sectioning of how this is going to go. So basically, you can see that we've got the fringe. Sorry, there's a delay. There we go.
No,
okay.
Really good.
There's the high point of the head is back here, right?
Yeah.
So here is where the fringe area sits. And that's just after the bevel of the head changes, the surface of the head changes. So we've got our fringe area, we've got our 2 sides, and then we've got our 3 bevels in the back. Okay, so it's a vertical breakdown of the head. And in the fringe area, we've got 3 sections. So a little teeny tiny triangle, and then that gives us our 2 side sections of the fringe area. So those are the sections of the haircut. I'm going to be working dry, so I'm just going to cut each section as I go and section it off, as opposed to cutting the whole thing. I mean, sectioning the whole thing and then cutting it. And also, when we're cutting dry, right, we want to make sure that we don't mark the hair. So I'm using my Sammy Via dry cutting clips, which are great for not marking the hair, because it's drag if you have done a nice blowout to then ruin it with clips. So we're going to start with a section right in the center. Excuse me. And this is where you get to decide what length you want to do. So I'm going to bring her. If I'm here, you can see that, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to bring her down so that I can elevate the hair. And what we're going to do is work with a layer that sits right around the jaw. So when that lifts up and it moves to the side, it's going to still be longish, but it's not going to be a long layer that has no volume on the sides. So I'm going to comb the hair up and get ready. And it's going to sit at about the chin, like I said. So I'm just eyeballing that, combing the hair up. So I'm elevating the hair at 45 degrees. And then what I'm going to do is point cut. So I'm just going to turn my hands because my fingers are on the angle. And I'm going to point cut that. Now I know this is probably too long, but I'm a safety gal. Not really. I think I am, but I have a lot of accidents. Okay. Now that we've got that bulk of the length off, I'm going to go in and just take a little bit more. Just show you how that looks. So it's not super short, but it's not big chicken long either. It's somewhere in between. You know what I mean? When you're afraid to layer. So this is going for it. Stand by. And both sides of the section I'm combing to the center of the triangle. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so now what we're going to do is go and take our next section, which goes to the fringe area. So that's going to start right about here, and then we're going to work down to I don't know what this bone is called, but this one right here. I've heard ocular, but I don't know if I believe that's a real word.
It sounds like a real word.
It sounds very scientific.
I'm going to say yes.
Ocular.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's the ocular bone. And so if you look at her from the front, right, our section's getting wider. So I'm going to be doing the same thing on both sides, but I'm going to show you the view here. And basically what I'm going to do is just cut one side at a time. So basically I'm just cutting half of the section. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm taking notes, Ruth.
Okay. Yeah. There'll be a test at the end. Now I'm going to take the other side. And if you look from the front, I'm making sure that I'm combing them both together in the center. Hey, lady. Okay, here we go. I'm going in. Turning my hand. And that's just, obviously you want to stay far from your fingers, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So when you're cutting dry, you can do that because it stands away. So you can see how here, even that in itself would be a cute front to a bob, you know, where you could then just cut your line in. So now the next section is going to go from the high point to the back of the ear. So that's a pretty big section, and that's how we want it to be. We like big sections. And most people don't have this much density on their sides, right? So you're going to end up I just went into my hair spaceship. You guys have hair spaceships where you're in the middle of a sentence and then you're like, who are you? What's going on?
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, are you saying air spaceship?
Hair spaceship.
I just have air. I just have air spaceships where
I was gonna say
talking, and then I'll be like, wait, what? And then John Stellato inevitably used to say to me, you were the only one talking. I'm like, yeah, and I'm not making any sense.
I know. So there's my guide. And I'm just going to connect it in. Same guide. But you can see it's a very chunky guide.
We have a couple questions, Ruth. One is, can you also use the high point of the eyebrows as a sectioning guide for the fringe?
You can. And that section, thank you for that question.
The fronds.
Franz, thank you. You can for sure use that point, especially when you've got someone with a different bone structure. So the size of that first section really shouldn't go past the outer part of the eye, okay? Because you want it to just frame the face. You don't want it taking too much weight out of the side. So the size of that section, right, is going to depend on the bone structure and looking at natural fall, you know, and making that call based on that.
Okay. And then do the sections go to the high point? Not in in the back they do, Lindsay. In the front it goes to what would you say? Like right where the head changes shape, you said.
Yes. Right? So you mean the fringe?
Yeah.
The fringe is here. You get all the way. And then the high point is back from that about 2 inches. So if you find the high point, you go to where the curve is, and that's where your fringe starts.
Nice. And then the last question is mine, which is for the point cutting, because often you see people point cut and it ends up looking quite even, if you will, whereas this seems like you're going a bit deeper in some cases and a bit more shallow in others. Am I seeing that correctly when I'm looking at it? And is there a reason why?
What I'm doing is, thank you for that, Sheri. I'm looking for density. So if it's thicker and darker, I'm going to curve my fingers and get in there more and take more of that hair out. And if it's thinner or more see-through, then I want to create a textural blend. So I'm not going to go in deep on the thin part, but I'll go in deeper on the thick part. And then it makes them friends. So they behave similarly and they look more uniform as opposed to, you know, scrawny on the bottom.
Excellent. So, thank you.
Yeah. So I'm just going to now go into the back. And what that's going to be is 3 sections. So if we go back to our dolly, those are the back sections, super simple. So I'm going to start with the center back, and it goes up to the point we just cut. So I'm going to take, and what the section that we're going to take goes to the back corner of the head, right? So it goes to where we've got this scary area where there's not much hair behind the ear.
Yes.
And there's our back corner. So we're going to do the same thing on both sides. So it's a pretty big section, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's okay. And what we're doing is we're really only cutting from the occipital up. So whatever your length is here is going to be safe. Then what I'm going to do is comb it straight up. And I'm going to find my guide from the front section. So I'm just picking up a little piece there. Am I too close?
I can see.
Who the hell's the guide? There it is. Okay, and I'm just going to point at that. Now, to your point, Sheri, I'm staying close to the ends, and I'm not going in deep here because this is, look how sheer it is.
Yeah.
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 Okay, so we want to.
And you're doing a horizontal finger angle?
Yes, thank you for that. So I switched. Now, if we had hair that was even longer than this, we could comb the hair forward and wrap it, you know, do slowing graduation. We could slide cut from the same point. So we could have the same front and a different back that's much longer. So you just are going to adjust your finger angle to do that, or your cutting angle with slide cutting or razor cutting. And you could definitely do this with a razor too, on wet hair. So the thing that's fun about doing dry hair is you get to, it's like instant gratification, right? Now each section is coming straight up from where it lives. There's no over direction to the center. If you look where I am now, I'm at the back of the ear on this side. Let me just get this out of the way. Excuse my back. So here we are here. And each section only connects to that center point. You don't have to worry about connecting it with the previous section. Does that make sense?
Yep. Are you going to cut the length? Did you cut the length before or?
No, I'm going to do it after. Thank you for that. So we can do it before or after. If you do it before, then you know exactly where you're at. And you can always leave out your perimeter, like even here on the sides. Drop that out when you're cutting the sides if you want to work with a longer perimeter than this. So does that make sense?
Yes.
Yep.
If you're with me, say yes.
Yes.
Awesome.
Lindsay says she loves it. It's so simple.
So
So she's
simple.
with you too.
Super simple. And that's, sometimes we can get complicated. I can get very complicated because I'm like, you know, weird like that. So it, you know, see, even here, look at that.
Yeah, it's thin.
You can even go blunt here because that is still got more texture than the one, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So then it's just a matter of cutting the perimeter, however you want to see it. You can see the lines of the layers there on the side.
Yeah. Looks great.
So good, Ruth.
There.
Yeah,
Okay.
so good.
So let's do the perimeter. Do I have time? No, I don't have time. Do I have to do the perimeter?
You don't have to do the perimeter.
Let's do it really quick.
Yeah.
You have time though.
You have time, honey.
Well, I'm going to do something else, I thought.
Okay.
But maybe I won't be.
You have time.
Okay. I can show you too what I did. All right. So what's nice about that, going back to your question about cutting the length first, when you come up and you're just working from the occipital, you're going to cut to that length. That's the very, very last piece. So you would cut what reaches the bottom and then cut your angle from there.
Nice. We have our friend Ali is in the house and he says that it's beautiful. I agree.
Oh my goodness.
And
it's you're doing pretty good. You're upright still.
Yeah.
It's a miracle.
You're doing really good.
For those of you that are joining and have never seen Ruth before, she tends to, whether it's live or live on camera, she tends to, what would you say, Ruth? Have accidents. Yes.
I do. I'm accident prone. I'm getting the hair out of the way.
Good job.
Yeah.
Good job.
So what I'm going to do now is use some One United, which is a great cutting lotion. I've already, just so you know, in her hair, I've blowed it dry with Guts 10, which is a volume foam. And the reason for that is to get that hold in there, and to get that memory in there. So what we can do now, if you are, as you're cutting, is work with a cutting lotion, One United in this case, just to get that stiffness out of the hair from blow drying it. And I've heard a few people doing this, and I think it's awesome. And I'm going to do it because I want my clients. I don't want to blow dry my clients necessarily. And I mean, I want to, but maybe I shouldn't. That's what I meant to say. But forgot what I was saying. I was looking at the haircut. So there she is.
Yeah, she looks great.
Finished.
Really great.
Here's the wave version.
Wow.
Nice.
So it's the same haircut, just different color, different lengths, and so on.
Yeah. So Ruth, I have a question because I mean, obviously I have some experience with Ruth. For those that are watching, when I had short hair, she used to give me extensions actually. And she was the first one who taught me. I was always a little bit, I would say, timid of using a curling iron on my hair because I felt like, oh God, it takes so long. But you taught me how to basically do like 5 sections with a curling iron, and it would look basically like that. So can you just give a little hot tips or tell people how you approach that? Because I think if they come in with dry hair, if we're not going to blow dry, but we still want them to leave with a good, cool look, we could just take an iron to it really quickly.
Yes. Yeah? Yep. And one of the things, it's on one of the videos, I believe, this is a really fast way, is to take and separate out the back. You can even just separate the 2 sides out. I'll just show you the technique really quick. So let's say you've cut the back. You can even cut, get this happening. Sides out of the way, and then just take this entire section, heat it up with the blow dryer, use some iron shape or a heat protection with hold in it. This is what I use. And then twist it. So see how I'm not down here at the nape, I'm kind of at the occipital. Mm-hmm. When you twist it, you're just going to create a round bun. Keep the ends smooth, and then put a clip into it. I use these duckbill thingies, and stick one end into the bun and then back, almost like you would a bobby pin, and then push the pin in. And then what you can do while that's in and cooling off, because you heated it up with the blow dryer, is literally put like 2 sections in here and just curl them with the iron. Boom, boom. Mm-hmm. 1, 2.
Mm-hmm. So let's say you're not using a hair dryer though. In the back, I mean, this sounds weird. Could you take all of it and just sort of heat it up with the curling iron and, and wrap it?
Yeah, I'm going to do a pretend iron because I don't have one.
Yeah, no problem.
I do, but that's
okay.
A project.
No, this works.
So what you could do is take your whole section.
Or even a flat iron. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you used a regular iron, you wouldn't be straightening the hair out because you don't want to do that. If you used a regular curling iron, you could just heat it up with the side of the iron, heat it up here, underneath, put it through the iron like one time, like this, one big section, and then twist it.
Nice.
So that's you don't need a lot of
tip.
Yeah, you just want to put some motion in it. You don't need a lot of wave,
Yeah.
It won't give you a lot of wave, but it'll give you a natural kind of lived-in look.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Woohoo! Excellent.
Love it.
So
all right, what else you got?
I don't know. Do we have time?
You have time.
You cut me off when it's time.
Okay.
Just get the hook. Okay, so this is, when you look at her, one side is finished with a little bit of texture, one side is just smooth. And when you look at that, it looks blunt, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
looks like a blunt one-leg bob. When you look at this side where it's been set a little bit, you can see how much texture it has.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a really quick, also dry haircut. Where I've taken 3 sections. Well, it's 4 sections, but down this, a horseshoe section on the top. And then in the back, right above the part of the occipital that stands out the most, so just above the occipital bone, and then a section that goes down towards the jawline. So this section here coming down like that.
Right.
So that gives you a bigger nape area than a regular nape, but it also leaves some hair here to fall down and fill in the scary area, or the scaria, which I call
The
it.
scaria.
The scaria of it. So the first, and I've cut half of this already, and if we don't get to the whole thing, it'll make sense, but I will explain it. So
Awesome.
here we go. So the first section is just above the occipital, so we can find that by laying the comb in there. Where it comes up, there's the highest point, and then just above that part that stands out, we're going to go in and take the section so it goes towards the jawline. Cool?
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay, and now what I'm going to do is take diagonals within it, and we're going to cut the texture first and then the perimeter. So texture goes in. I'm going to weave through with the shears. And I'm going to talk with the shears, not closing them all the way, from short to long. So what we're doing is causing the hair to move. We're removing the weight and making it skinnier at the bottom. But we're not going to lose any of that bluntness because we're going to do our perimeter second. So that's basically getting that texture out. And then Alfredo, I think you commented on this.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
So what we're going to do now is go in. Let me just get her up a little bit. I charged them, so hopefully they're not going to go wonky on me. Are you straight, lady? Okay, so here we go. They're making you dizzy.
No?
Going in. Okay. Now, what I like to do as I go is work with another product I like to work with for dry cutting is Pillow Proof from Redken, and this is a primer for blow drying. You got to shake it first, but it just has a little bit. I like the amount of tactileness it gives you, and I'm just going to push that down and just coax it into position a little bit. Next section is going to go all the way up to the horseshoe. So it's a big section. Stand by. Hold, please. There we go. So same thing here, because this is still the underneath of the haircut, right? The top section's still going to fall over that. So bring it back down to an area where it can work. And I'm going to take a diagonal section and just work in that midsection now. And just like highlighting, you can take big chunks out. You can take little baby lights like this. You want to take less out, you could use your blending shears. There's a lot of different ways you can approach this based on the amount of weight you want to take out and the amount of density of the hair that you're working on. Now, as you get into the side, most people don't have this much hair on the side, so I wouldn't even do this on the side. But because she has a ton, she needs it. And you can see I'm staying within this area. Mm-hmm. I'm not starting way down here because we're going to cut that off. So if I put all the texture at the ends, it's a waste of time. Right. So we're staying in the area where we want to see that texture, which is right in here. And using the clippers is a nice, quick way to get a line in there, right?
So satisfying. I love the clippers.
Oh my God, I know. That's why you like the sound of it so much, huh?
Yeah, I knew. I was hoping that's what you were gonna do. So yes, I was.
Oh man.
Ruth, I do have a question for you. You talked about, because I agree with you. You said it earlier about.
I can hear you.
Okay, good. More people cutting hair dry, you know, in this new normal, going back to the salons and than wet. As somebody who cutting is not my number one specialty, and I normally was cutting wet. Did you always cut more dry, or is it something that you're pivoting into? Is the first part of my question. And the second part of my question is, what tips do you have for people like me that don't cut as much dry, that cut more wet, of you know, to not make mistakes and to be, you know, a little bit aware of, because it's definitely a different animal.
It is different.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is you can see exactly what the hair's doing, right? And how it's going to live. So sometimes when you're working with wet hair, especially if it's a new guest, you're guessing, right? Where it's going to end up or that kind of thing. So I feel like with dry hair, you can see exactly what you're going to get as you go, which is awesome. But the tips are, for me, like especially working here, no tension at all when you're cutting a blunt line, you know, to cut it either freehand or through the wide teeth of the comb so that you can see exactly what you're doing and you're not disturbing that hair at all. And also to, like, if your guest comes in and their blow dry is a little janky, you know, to hit it with the flat iron a couple times, you know, just to get those weird things out of it before you start to cut. So, and like I'm doing as I go, I'm moistening, is that a word? Moistening the sections with a little bit of product. So as I'm up here,
giving it a little bit of slip.
Yes, and a little bit of coaxability. You know, you can coax it into place so it doesn't look so stick straight. So you can see how it's important to keep the sections diagonal, because then as this falls down, everything covers itself. So here we go. Going in. You don't want to go too close to the scalp on this one, especially on the surface, because you want to be able to, and I'm going to drop out that perimeter. You want to be able to not have it stand up. Just going to do one little piece there.
So Lindsay's asking if it's easier to cut the length after, because you can have the room to do the texture first.
That's a great point, Lindsay. Yes, because you're holding on the hair and you're far away from where you're cutting, and you're cutting like in here. So if you had your length, you wouldn't be able to get in. It would slip out of your fingers more, you know, and you can't slide, which is the fun part. And you got to have fun.
Yeah.
Nice.
And you can see how fast that is.
Yeah, that's great.
Is it even? It's a little longer on this side. Is it? Whatever, you get the idea.
I think she looks great.
Yeah, I love it. I actually like that it has a little bit of
something.
Yeah.
So it's just, it looks like a one-length bob, right? But it has so much texture and movement in it.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can do it just where it needs it. So if someone's got a skinny nape already and they have 4 hairs there, skip the nape and go up to the midsection, you know, or just do it on the top. And it's a great thing to do on the top of a long layer, that kind of thing.
Right.
So, and just to show you, if I'll show you one section of how I created that wave on the blonde, is just bending the hair and literally flat ironing it in an area so that when it, well, you have to have the iron on. Oh, for God's sake. Never mind. This is what I did. So I did this, boom, boom, boom. And then the next one I would take it and do the opposite way, or even do a bend here and then a bend on this part here. And you get that texture.
Even though it wasn't hot, Ruth, it was so clear by what you just showed.
Okay, good.
Yeah, totally got it. Because I'm going to try that actually. I like that you use the iron to create that. Really
It's
good.
nice on a bob to do
Yeah.
a texture like that, as opposed to doing a curl, you know?
Yeah,
And to
for
me,
sure.
this is like cool girl hair.
Yeah,
Like, hey, I didn't try too hard, but I'm amazing.
It's edgy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who was teaching yesterday? I think, oh gosh, maybe it was Gerard from Hairbrain was teaching the French girl bob.
Yes,
Did
it
you
was
see that?
Gerard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was cute. He, you know, it had that sort of texture in there, and honestly, I wasn't. I was just watching him, so I wasn't taking notes or anything. This is super clear, and I get how to do it, so that makes me excited. I won't do it on my own hair. Don't worry, Ruth. And I have
Okay. I'm
so
so
Ruth normally
shocked.
cuts my
I'm
hair
shocked.
for everyone that's. I know for everyone that's watching, Ruth normally cuts my hair. And every now and then I come in and I'm that person that's like, you know, like my dog, when I want to put a collar on her, she walks really slow with her head down, you know, like, so that's me. I walk really slow and I'm like, okay, she's going to notice that I cut my fringe. I think usually before I see you, I out myself on through a text message and say I've cut my own fringe.
You do. You confess.
You're that client, huh?
Or she'll post
I'm
it
a good.
You'll post it on your Instagram that you cut your bangs, and then I bust you, you know, because I know.
And then you bust me sometimes. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I haven't cut it. I have cut some in here because as it got longer and my non-formal Brazilian blowout has worn off. I'm like, it's like it's got a mind of its own. It doesn't know what to do actually, and the weather here in New York is odd. I had a call with Carolyn earlier who said, "Oh yeah, you look like Chewbacca," and I'm like,
"What?
Stop it!
Here's the wrong color for that. First of all,
well." She remembered me when I was blonde in Florida, and it was like they called me Chewbacca, and now it's dark. Well, yeah, I mean, I haven't colored it either. Look.
Wow. I think it looks great.
So I think that's awesome. We do have some commentary. Franz says, Ruth, I love your energy and thank you for sharing the tips. Liza says, love her. I love her too, Liza. We won't fight over her. Don't worry. There's plenty of Ruth to go around. Great additions. Stunning. The control of the eye level when you're doing the bzz, bzz is key. Absolutely. But so many hot tips. I mean, wow, you could immediately implement those when you go back, and I appreciate those. Again, if anyone on here has not yet gone to see the videos that are on the YouTube page right here at RMB, Ruth has over 20 videos, I think.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
I had nothing else to do.
Right? You killed it.
Can you give us a couple videos? And she's like, I have 24. And we're like, amazing. So thank you, Ruth, because you're always willing to be here for the industry, to help share your knowledge and your love. And you're always there. And I just, you know how much I adore and appreciate you, and really miss having coffee and hanging out at your house with Annie and 10 hours of doing my extensions.
I know. It's like forced time. I make you spend time to sit down. You do work though the whole time, but at least we're talking here and there.
Well, I noticed that I can't work that much because I'm handing you the hair.
That's
the
true.
Last time when we realized I didn't need them anymore, we met for coffee. So we can still do that. Yeah. Or to put the color in, we've got to put more color in. Anyway, you're awesome. Everybody, make sure you follow Ruth on her Instagram as well. She shares beautiful looks, and she's done hair forever. And don't miss Friday Night Live because it's amazing. It's at 8 p.m. New York time. And before we go, though, we do want to take a look at a collaboration and hear about this collaboration that Ruth did with another amazing colorist.
Yes.
So Ruth, why don't you tell us about what we're about to see?
Okay, so this George Garcia is the colorist on this project, but I feel like it was more of a collaboration, even with the shapes and the colors and everything of us working together. It was like two people on one two people became one, And so this was a very strong collection that we entered into NAHA in different categories, and I became a finalist for Master Stylist of the Year with it. And so I'll show it to you, but George and I love the collection so much that we actually are using it as an inspiration for a class that we're doing tomorrow, the Redken Exchange Live. That was the inspiration, but we're taking it to how can you make it salonable? How can you take those looks that you're about to see and make them work for our real clients in the salon? So that's where we're going to go with it.
Nice. Okay, so just the looks that you're going to see were done pre-COVID-19, but tomorrow on the Redken Exchange Live, please go to Ruth's page, I'm assuming, where you can swipe up to register.
Yes.
Then you can go there. I'm desperate. I am desperate. I've had a goal here that because all I want, I'm not after followers. I'm not like chasing the Instagram dream, but I just want to be able to swipe up, damn it. And you can't swipe up till you get to 10,000 attendees. So I keep having to put in bio, and then I have to change my like 500 times depending on what I'm trying to promote.
We got to fix that.
One day, everybody, you're going to be able to swipe up on my page. But for now, you go to Ruth Roche on Instagram at Ruth Roche. You can see her handle here. You'll be able to swipe up for this amazing class. But in the meantime, show us what we're going to learn. Can you please bring up there we go.
Yeah, so they were strong images. And you'll tune in and find out George's inspiration for all the color.
Wow.
So let's take a look at the rest of the collection. We called her Mullet Girl. And then this was Mermaid. And so it was like, if a mermaid had a mullet, what would it look like? So that's kind of
I love the mermaid. It almost has a, dare I say, like an edgy Betty Page feel to it.
Yeah, it's like Betty Pagey mullet combo. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's see the next one. Wow. This is, I think, George and I one of our favorites. There's a couple, but this one, I call her Cindy Lou Who because of her little sprout on the top. But it's like a shag to the edge, to the limits.
Yeah.
Let's see the next one. And then working with just a really classic shape. And the color, to me, is what makes this one sing, It's so simple, but so beautiful. And it accents
like lit from within,
Yeah,
really
exactly.
Nice.
Yeah. And that, to me, like, sometimes it's about just showcasing the color, and not making it all about the cut and the color and the blah, blah, blah. It's such a beautiful color. It just needs a simple frame,
Yeah, exactly. Beautiful. So you're going to take these and make them salonable tomorrow. Tell us how you're going to do that.
Well, we are going to, what we did was we made all of these. They were wigs, they were wefts, they were things that we made some wigs. For a photo shoot, a lot of times, as you know, and anybody who does shoots, sometimes it's just about creating the illusion. So what we've done is then taken something that isn't a haircut or a color technique because it was colored and then put together. How do we take a head of hair that's existing and cut it and color it into one of those looks? So, and how do we take some of those looks that are maybe way too edgy for a regular everyday client and get inspired for something that does work for an everyday client?
Yeah.
So we're going to be going through a couple techniques each.
Amazing. Excellent, Ruth. Well, unfortunately, I never catch them live because I'm actually sitting behind my computer, as is Alfredo, on Teams meeting, trying to figure out how to help our communities as best as we can. But we do go back and check them out whenever we can.
Yes, we do.
And I know that between you and George, your hearts are so big. You're going to be just sharing so much love. And again, cannot thank you enough. Franz is so excited, loves it, and cannot wait. Is making her hungry, for tomorrow. I don't know how to translate that in a. It says this is making me hungry for tomorrow. So there's
good.
So
Franz,
there's a big high five coming at you.
Hey, I want to say, I want to have you guys on my Friday Night Live at some point. So are you game?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Good.
How
And thank
fun.
you
Yes,
for what you're doing for our
absolutely.
industry. You know, I know it's a lot
Oh,
of work, but it's working and it's amazing.
oh,
Thank
thank
you,
you so
Ruth.
much, Ruth. Lots of kisses. We love
Thank you,
you.
Ruth. Thank you so much. You
Well,
too.
that was amazing.
Wow.
I
Wow, wow,
know,
wow.
Alfredo. I
I
can't
learned
wait to
so
see some
much.
of your dry hair cutting.
I think I know. I feel like I'm definitely leveling up my cutting skills from all of these. 'Cause I don't get to cut as much as I'd like, and we've had so many great cutters on here. I learn something new every time.
I know, I love that. And I always like watching you whenever there's a designer on because your face is like, sometimes it's like, and I'm
I
like,
have
put
my
your
aha
chin up,
moments.
baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I love it. Well, before we go to our next guest, one of the things that we started last week, for those of you that are joining us for the first time, is we wanted to make sure, again, this whole thing was born out of us group of hairstylists trying to answer the needs of the hairstylists that are out there. We're going to continue to do R&B because we know that we're not going back to what was before, right? So the now normal will continue to change. We know
Yeah.
that. We want to be there for you. And so we've asked for stylists from all over the world, actually, to send us in video questions of things that they would like to have answered. So let's go to one of those right now. I think let's
Roll it.
try and answer that for them.
Sounds good.
Hey guys, I'm Morgan Reed with Morgan Reed Salon here in Buffalo, New York. My question for Redken would be, what do we need to do as salon owners to prepare to open with hair color? Obviously our clients haven't had their hair colored in weeks. So are you guys prepared and producing more color? Should we stock up? Will there be some form of a shortage? So I guess just looking for some guidance on that. Should we be hoarding all the color now? Obviously our clients are going to have really big roots. So that would be my question. Should I stock up? Will we be fine? And whatnot. So thank you.
I
Excellent.
love that. It's
Me
an
too.
excellent question. Excellent question. So, what do you think, Alfredo? Do you think this is going to be the next toilet paper gate?
Oh God, I hope not, Sheri. I mean, I'm glad that you asked me because I have a lot to say about that. I don't think hairstylists should be feeling like they need to hoard color and product, because what's going to happen is you may not need it, or you may think you need something and need something else. And right now we need to be financially sound, and we need to be really thinking smart about how we allocate our funds and how we restock our shelves in a really smart way that's really well thought out. So I would say that that's where FaceTime consultations, again, we keep saying it, but I mean, it's so relevant. Like, I feel like I'm a broken record, but like, reaching out to your clients, having those consultations, check-ins, making sure that you know where their hair is at. What do they, besides where their hair is at as far as regrowth, what do they have in mind? Maybe they want to go a full color change. Like, do that consultation appointment before the appointment so you're well prepared, and then use that to stock. So you said it earlier about what people should be doing right now, and getting geared up. Part of getting geared up to me would be calling your clients, contacting them, figuring out what your books are going to look like over the course of the first month to 2 months, and stocking your shelves with that in mind. And being really smart with how much you're purchasing and what you're purchasing, that it's going to fit, as meaning fitting into your schedule, that you're going to be able to use it, that it's actually relevant to what you're going to be doing.
Excellent, Alfredo. I
Yeah.
love that. And
Yeah.
you're not a broken record, because I think, maybe if there's somebody that tunes into every single thing that we do, maybe they're like, oh, there they go again with the FaceTime consultations or the video consultations. But it's true. Like, the benefits of it it's the gift that will keep on giving.
Yes.
For sure. So
Yeah.
if you guys see me moving around, for those of you that are watching, we can see ourselves, right? And my back has been aching. Normally I get massages, I go to the chiropractor. I know you too.
Me
and
too.
I'm noticing,
Yeah.
like, I have one shoulder that is higher than the other, and I feel like I'm sitting up straight. I'm like, so what's going on with me?
Every day is a new pain for me. Like, I'm not complaining. I'm grateful for everything, but yeah, I'm like, my back every day. I'm like, waking up, like doing all these weird stretches. I don't know. It's like,
Yeah, I'm gonna
quarantine
need
body.
like something that'll like just go under my right butt cheek to level me out or something like that. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's take a look at the next question.
Let's do it.
Hi, I'm Jeannie from Cayman Islands at a Jeannie Lawler studio. And my question is, how are we going to look at this new normal and how is it going to be affecting our bottom line revenue? Seeing that we're going to have to rearrange the salon to be 6 feet socially distanced apart, which sometimes might be eliminating a chair. Also, we're not able to double book as we normally do to hit our numbers at the end of the week to be a profitable salon. So how are we going to adjust our salon to look at the numbers differently and to be able to still be a profitable salon with this new normal?
That's an excellent question. I
Yeah.
love that they are coming in. The questions are coming in from all over the place because what we also know is that it's not the same scenario not the same scenario all
Yeah.
over the place. And so what I would say to our friend in Cayman Islands is that this is again the time for us to start looking at our P&L, right? And understanding that, I think that a lot of people, I'm not saying any of us, but a lot of people are like, okay, I'm going to open the doors, whether that's a restaurant, whether that's a hardware store. That's a weird example. Whether that is, a salon or a barber shop, and thinking we're just going to go back to normal. And we know that it's not going to be the same going back to normal. And so what you want to do is you want to start now with looking at first occupancy. Exactly as you said, if we have a limit in the number of people that can be in the salon and they have to stay 6 feet apart, that may mean that we have to space people out more. And so the first thing that I would do is I would look at the hours that the stylists are working and make that commitment. It goes back to what I said at the beginning of this program, which is, why do you do what you do? And if your stylists in your salon do this because they want to serve clients to help them feel beautiful and look beautiful and therefore feel beautiful, then they may have to make a temporary change in their work hours so that you split the shifts, right? So you can still see clients. I would not recommend one person working a really long time because everything that we're hearing is that it's super exhausting.
Yeah.
It's exhausting because of the extra precautions that you have to take. It's exhausting because you don't realize what the mask, how it makes you sort of extra tired, throughout the day. And so what you don't want to do is you don't want to burn yourself out. But first things first, look at how many people can be in your salon, see if you need to split shifts with your stylists. And then I would put a really realistic business plan, back to business plan in order. And what do I mean by that? Well, you knew that when you opened your salon for the very first time, you were going to open those doors never to have been opened before. When you had this dream of opening a salon, you weren't going to be profitable on day one, right? So you're almost having to relook at what point do you create profit, and being realistic with some things that you might need to change as it relates to spending, etc., so that you can almost save, be frugal and then save. So it's almost like you're looking at it from scratch, but at least you have a waiting list of people that want to come in. So no, you're not going to open up the doors and be profitable immediately, but you definitely want to make sure that you're looking very realistically at how long the timeline is from your doors reopening and to when that's going to make you profitable again. So hopefully that helped. I know it's not a very clear answer, but
I thought it was. I loved it.
Thank you.
It was super clear.
So Alfredo, we have somebody coming on next. Again, everyone, thank you. We've got more questions later. Don't forget to send in your questions. I love them. Alfredo loves them. We love to be able to help. That's what we're all about. So, but we do have another hot tip technique coming up from a very amazing man. So why don't you do the pleasure? No, that doesn't sound right.
The honor.
Why don't you do the honor? Thank you of introducing him.
I will, and it's true. I love seeing everybody's faces with the questions now that we're doing that every week. It's so good to see you guys and get your great questions. So many great questions coming in. It's just great to connect with you and see your actual face on the screen. I'm so excited about having the honor to introduce our next guest. I've actually known of him longer. We ended up becoming friends, and I just super dear to my heart. But this man is like so successful. I'm going to put him on the spot a little bit because we're talking a lot about like business, and you tell me, Sheri, that like, Alfredo, do you realize that you have a business side to your brain? Our next guest definitely has that side to his brain. He is, dare I say, like a genius when it comes to the business side of things. And he's a shining example, I think, of like being able to come into the hair industry and that the possibilities are endless. He's been super smart with his money, with his like the things he's been able to do. He does hair because he loves to do it. Not necessarily anymore because he needs to do it, because he's just been a really smart businessman throughout the years. He's a celebrity hairstylist. He works in Los Angeles at Andy LeCompte Salon. He also works in New York at Rita Hazan Salon and some other places. He's a traveling hairstylist, a celebrity stylist. His work has been seen on endless covers of magazines around the world. So talented. I saw him first. I went to visit Andy. I've known Andy for years. And I went and I watched George work one day. I was like a spy sitting in the chair because we were filming something there. And he's always been valuable, but I think he has some really great stuff to share because George is a master of getting clients in, working smarter, not harder, super strategic with his time, and he gets them in and out. I was just sitting there that day amazed watching these beautiful highlights that look like it was 3 hours, 4 hours that it would take somebody in like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, walking out with the most beautiful blonde highlights that I've ever seen. So I'm super excited to see what he's going to share with us today and what hot tips he has. So without further ado, we will welcome to the RMB stage, Mr. George Papanikolas. Hi, George.
Thank you, guys. Good morning, good afternoon. How are you guys?
Good, George. How are you?
I'm good. Just dealing with the quarantine, but we're here.
Yes. And where are you right now?
I'm at home in LA in Hollywood Hills.
Okay, beautiful.
So
Nice.
yeah, looks like Mykonos, but I wish we were there.
Yeah, it's very, very white. I love it.
Yeah, don't touch anything. Not necessarily the best place to do color, but with the bleach, it's okay.
Excellent. George, we're so excited to have you on here today. And, you and I are certainly, we've seen each other throughout the past. I think the first time we came in contact was way back when through Stephen Henley. Yeah, right. And that was a long time ago, but I've always been a big fan of your work. And
thank you.
And normally stalk you on Instagram so I can see it. Yesterday, I saw a little bit more than your work as you were soaking up the vitamin C. But
yes.
You got to throw that in there too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You got to throw a little bit of that in there as well. So we're excited, right?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited too. It's like Alfredo was saying. My business model has always been, high volume. I average 20 to 30 appointments a day on a regular day. So for me, everything I do in the salon is super strategic, but it also has to look really beautiful because you want those clients to come back and they want to have more. So I think like the way I kind of approach hair is really just to make it look effortless, sun-kissed. You spent the summer at the beach, but with a little bit more pop and like a little bit of an edge to it. That's always been my vibe. And it's one of those things that like the girls like it. And not only in LA, New York, I'm getting flown to the Middle East, Europe. These girls see this look and it pops. And I think what's made me able to do these international trips is, I could also do 20 to 30 appointments. So it offsets the costs of the flights, everything else that goes into those trips where, if you could only do 2 or 3 people a day, a lot of times people are like, how can I start flying to Dubai? How can I start flying to London? But it's like, if you're only doing 2 or 3 appointments in a day, you're not going to break even. The cost of everything gets too high. So these techniques that I do are really easy way to crank out a lot of clients. But it's also going to give you a really fun result. So I already pre-did half this mannequin head right here, showing this technique. Now, I'll give you guys a little bit closer look here. So you see what she was like before, and this is what it was like after. Now, would you believe that I did this in 15 minutes. And I use 7 foils on the side.
Wow.
So imagine the entire thing now is going to take you about, I'd say 20 to 30 minutes max. I could probably do it in 15, the whole thing. And it's going to process for about an hour and a half. But you're getting this like major transformation with 14 foils. So for me, again, this is like minimal effort, but you're getting maximum benefit. So
Excellent.
I'm going to go step by step to show you guys exactly on the other half. Is that what you guys want to see?
Absolutely, because Franz on
Okay.
our feed is freaking out.
He's
They're
like, what?
So yes, we want to see,
Okay.
as to our viewers, how the heck you're going to do that in 14 foils.
All right, we're gonna see. Okay, well, starting first, you got to have to think about like strategic placement. You know, that's really where we're gonna focus on with the hair. So before the client ever comes into my chair, I always recommend first get your hair cut. You know, because a lot of the best result here is on the ends. So if I do your work and then you get your haircut after, you're gonna lose the best part. So it's always better to get it cut first. That way I can tailor everything to the cut. The other thing you're gonna see is there's a lot of negative space. So if you lift the hair on the section, you can see there's a lot of dark under here. Now that's really important. Because this hair lays over it, that's really what pops. And these are the areas that you want to focus. The pop is going to be the face frame, the natural part, and the ends. All that internal stuff, you don't need to really focus on that because the top layer of hair is going to lay over it, and that's where you're going to get the contrast, the dimension. That's where the client sees in the mirror. That's where the camera photographs it. So it's a technique that, you know, works for my celebrities, but it also works for like any girl that just wants to look beautiful when she looks in the mirror. So these are very strategic ways to think. You know, a lot of hairdressers, they really start at the nape of the neck and they spend so much time in areas that the client doesn't even see. And, you know, when we get back into the salon, it's going to be crazy. So that's not an area I would focus. And that's why I kind of like nicknamed this technique the Quaranteeze, because it's, you know, it's easy. It's going to get them out. It's going to get them what they want. Plus, you're probably going to be starting with like relatively healthy hair. So, so first things first, product-wise, I'm going to use Lightmaster. This is my go-to lightener. And then we're going to use 2 different developers. For the face frame, we're going to go with 20 volume because we're going to do a couple of slices around the face, and these are going to lift faster. 2 reasons: the hair's more fine, so it tends to lighten faster. Plus, you have the heat from your face where the foils are going to be laying. That also activates it faster. So just to have it all balanced and not get too white around the face, we'll do the 20 vol. And then for the rest of the foils, we're going to do 40 volume. And I know a lot of people are scared of 40 volume foils, but again, we're doing 14 foils total. So with 14 foils, you'll be able to get these on really fast. And even with this on, it can sit on, I start checking it about 20 minutes, but a lot of times it goes 30 to 50 minutes before we get to this light blonde effect. And I also don't use heat when I'm doing this, again, because I want to keep the hair really healthy. So I'd rather just let the client sit, let it do its thing. It'll get there. You know, and if it doesn't get there, then I'd rather have her come back again in like 2 months. We'll do another round. If you throw this under heat and you overprocess the hair, you know, there's no more going over it again because you busted that cuticle open. Or if you just let it do its thing over time, you're going to be a lot better. So now when I'm doing this typically, I divide the hair into 3 sections. So you're going to go from ear to ear first. Okay, and you want to clip these away. Okay, and then you're going to start taking horizontal sections. Now, the reason we do horizontal sections is because I want you to just visualize. If you took a vertical slice of the hair, it's going to disappear.
Yeah.
So that's going to give you a lot of work, not a lot of impact. Where if you go a slice this way, like straight across, now you're going to get a giant chunk. So that horizontal placement, that's what we're going to use all around the head because every single piece we do, we want to get the maximum impact from each piece. So that's why we're going to go horizontal with everything. So now, starting with our first section, we're going to start the teasing lights. Now, a lot of people do these and they take tiny, tiny little sections. It's great. You'll get there. but you're going to get exactly the same place, now taking huge sections. So what I'm going to do is I'm starting essentially, I'd say like just above, I would say just below the ear right here. The top of the ear is where we're going to take our first section. And I know this section looks huge. Take this in half, comb this out, pull it out 90 degrees. I use these Cricut combs. I have 2 of them. I have a fine tooth one and I have the wide tooth one. The fine tooth is more for just depending on the texture and see which one feels better. But typically, for the most part, I use the wider tooth comb. But then on the face frame and the money pieces, we're going to go with the tighter ones. So we put some gloves on. And I've pre-mixed. I've got the 2 lighteners with a double bowl, so that way you got the 20 and the 40.
So I love that, George, just while you're putting your gloves on, because, you know, it just shows I've been doing hair for a million years. And you get into this habit, right? So you have a habit of the tools that you're used to, you get it, and you just reorder the same, right? Unless you're out there actively looking for new tools, you end up just getting the same thing over again. I use Cricut combs as well. Never knew they had a wide tooth one.
Yeah.
Still right.
Yeah, well, I think for me, that's also the very systematic way of working for me in the salon, because people always ask, like, how do you do 20 to 30 appointments? And the way I can do it is because we have a system. The trays are set up exactly the same way every single time. I have 3 assistants. You know, we measure the bleach. It's 1 scoop to 1 ounce of lightener every single time. You know, there's a lot of colorists that I've watched, and they'll like yell at their assistant. They'll be like, "Does this look like yogurt? Does this look like yogurt?" And it's like, what if this is yogurt? Could be a whole other yogurt where if it's always pre-measured, it always comes out the same. And so, you know, I don't ever have to like send them back, and it doesn't ever slow down the process. So, so we do 1-to-1 ratio. And then, okay, so starting here, so we're going to go 90-degree angle. And then you're going to back comb the hair away, all of it in 1 giant slice. Now, essentially what that's doing is pushing away the newer growth, and it's leaving back the older growth. So this is what's going to be the first section. And you see we left a pretty fine slice here.
Yeah.
You want to make sure the slice is fine. You should be able to see through it. If there's too much hair in the foil, it's not going to lift. I'd rather you do more foils, but even with this, because you're pushing all the newer hair away, the older hair is going to give you a lot of pop. Can you guys see that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, great.
And then we're going to take the foil. I usually work with longer foils. That way, again, just makes your job easier. And now, just an example of if I did the lightener straight across here, that's going to give a really hard line. And a lot of people do that, and they go back and do a lot of toning to correct it all. So the way to save you that step is instead of going in and doing a straight line, I'm going to do V shapes. Now, the V shapes are really important because the V shapes are what are going to create the seamless transition and blend. So you're going to start like a little bit lower and then feather that up.
I think that I've heard that noise. I'm closing my eyes, right? It's like that ASMR or whatever. I've heard that noise of foiling so many years of my life, I could probably fall asleep to it.
Right. So like soothing.
All right. So just a few little tips when I'm doing this. See those top corners? You want to make those into sharp, tight corners. If you've got a heavy application at the top, it's going to create like a hard line when you go through. But can you see the V's?
Yes.
So you can kind of see on this other side what happened. It creates that seamless blend.
Yeah.
So that's what you want to have happening with these. So, and in order, like if you folded this in half, you're going to probably spot that V. So instead of that happening, use the second foil and just go right over it. Okay, so that's foil 1. So you would do a second one on that side. Then we're going to leave this entire middle section out. And we're just going to take these top corners. So all this hair here is still dark. You can see on this side over here that I did, it's all dark. So we're skipping a couple of inches here of hair. And I know a lot of people that's out of a lot of colorist comfort zone because they feel like they should put streaks everywhere. but it's not necessary. This is that internal layer that's going to give you that shadow, that negative space, that contrast. The other thing is, one of the reasons I think the clients keep coming back to me is because their hair stays really healthy. And one of the reasons it stays really healthy is because I'm not highlighting every single strand. So when you're really strategic with lightening and the majority of the hair is still virgin and natural, her hair is going to be longer, it's going to be thicker, it's going to feel healthier. Her friends are going to see how long and thick and healthy her hair is.
Yeah.
That's how you get repeat business. You know, if it's all like over processed and over highlighted, which, you know, these ends, trust me, they get like dry too. But if the less of that you do, the more likely that client's hair is going to be healthy and she's going to come back.
Nice.
Okay.
George, we have a couple questions. So you're just to
Yep.
confirm, you're using the 40 volume in the back, correct?
Yes, all the teasing lights are going to be 40 volume, and the face frame is the only one we're doing 20 volume. Okay, so now again, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, and then Liza would like to know, is this the same technique you used on BTC, the no toner balayage?
It's similar, except that we are going to do a face frame of foils, and I didn't do the freehand technique on top. So the face frame is going to be different, and it's going to give you a brighter, stronger money piece with this technique.
Okay.
Okay, so now again, 90 degrees up, and you're going to push this all the way down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and we're left with a fine slice. And again, we're doing these V shapes, and it's all horizontal. You know, again, here it is. It's all falling in this direction. So that's all very important things that you got to do.
Liza loves your techniques.
Thank you.
I do too.
Right, I concur.
Yeah, we concur. We're fans.
Yeah, and the great thing about these techniques, you know, they really work for, you know, it doesn't just have to be like the bronze and the brunettes. You know, I do this similarly on my blondes. I would just do a lot more highlights on them, you know, in the crown first, if it was a blonde client. Or, you know, but this is perfect for a redhead because, again, redheads, the majority of it, you want it to be the foundational color. And you just want to have these few pops. So we did that piece here, same V shape there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so next is where we're gonna do the face frame. So typically what I'm gonna do is, you know, I went a little stronger on the mannequin head because the hair is a little bit thicker, but you can see like when she pulls her hair back, we've got the brightness. So what I did was I went back and did a little bit of a shadow root after, just to soften that root. But that's what you want to get. You want to get like a very, very fine slice, maybe even two, framing the face. And you want to get all those little baby hairs. So that's where, and the good thing about doing this, you know, compared to the BTC technique, this is all one shot. You can do this all at once rather than a two-step. So this is going to get the client in and out a lot faster than the two-step freehand and coils. So you're going to take this and just get like a very, very baby fine slice on the hairline. Pull that out. And I'm not even weaving this. We're keeping everything horizontal because we want to keep it maximum. But you want to take this and make it as fine as possible. This is probably even just a little too thick, but on a real head, just keep it really, really baby fine. And then you're going to take your foil. And just face frame that as well. And with this one is we're going to go with the 20 volume. And again, the reason we're doing the 20 vol is because the heat from your face is going to help it lift faster. And these hairs tend to be a lot more fine and delicate. So you want to be really careful with those because if these break, that client's not coming back.
No, right, exactly. So a couple more questions. First, a comment from Jorge from Puerto Rico. He says this is super fast and he loves it. How thick should that section that you just did in the front be? Tiny, Jorge, tiny.
Yeah, very, very tiny. Like see through, like the babyest, like almost barely any hair in it because you want to keep that all really soft. You know, I don't like super strong, you know, crazy face frames like that. Like even I did Like before it was a little bit heavier, but it's a mannequin head. But for me, like I like to keep that very, very sheer, and I'd almost rather do 2 very sheer baby ones, and then that way they're really delicate and soft. But also when it's done, I almost always go back and I do like a root shadow. I'll use color sync, and I usually go about 1 shade lighter than their base color, and that just like drops it down. And I use an N, so a neutral. Like so, if this is like let's say a 6N, I would go in with a 7N afterwards, and just like brush it in, feather it down a little. That's just gonna soften all the highlights, so that when the client leaves, she doesn't see like a hard line. And it's the contrast from the root color to the highlight that can look really harsh at the root.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Franz is asking, well, first Franz says, my mouth is still open. So I think that's a good thing. Is the V shape the same throughout the back, or is anything narrower? It looks the same, but.
It's the same. The section was a little bit smaller because it's on the top of the head. It's a smaller triangular section, but it's essentially the same. And we're going to do the same on the sides and front. So I'll go through those each step so you can see each one. So we got the face frame now here. So we just have like the two face frames. And again, like just depending on how light you want to go, you can go with 2 foils each on the face frame. But it just depends on how many baby hairs they have. If they have a lot of baby hairs, then you'll want to do like 2 or 3. If they don't have a lot of baby hairs, you can get away with 1. So you gotta have to tailor that part, depending on the client.
George, when you do a retouch, when they come back for something like this, do you try to keep the same pattern and just do the V on the regrowth, or do you sometimes add new highlights in? Does it just depend? What's your strategy for that?
So typically, if a client like this comes in, I usually do a freehand balayage first in the crown, and then I'll do these tips after. So you save these tips more for like a 2 to 3 times a year thing, because that hair, especially if you max it out to a really light blonde, it can get over processed really quickly. So typically about every second haircut is what you need to redo. Your clients are gonna want these every single time. You have to kind of like top them off the ledge and be like, no, girl, you're gonna get a free haircut out of this. But I also will adjust, if they just want a little jolt and a little pop, I'll drop it down to like a 10 or 20 on the ends. It'll give the clients what they want, because a lot of times, especially if they're doing a single process in between, that color runs down no matter what. It kind of dulls down the highlights a little bit. So that's a good way to just kind of bump it back up without having to really max out the lightening.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay, so we got our 2 face framers. All right, and now we're going back to the side of the head. So now we've got this entire section that's above the ear, and it's about her temple. That's our next section. Like I said, these are really large sections that we're working with here. And this, again, always at a 90-degree angle, pull it all the way out. And then you're gonna just straight back on it. Usually 2 swipes is enough. And you just want to get it in there really tight. It needs to be the same density throughout. If there's like a thick section and a thin section, you're not doing it right. Take it out, do it over again. So it needs to have the same thickness and density throughout the hair. Also, if your back combing is down to here, you're teasing forward updo. We're not doing updos here. We're doing the teasy light. So it's really just essentially just getting that hair out of the way. That's what you want to do. If you're doing a lot of little teases, then you're sculpting a beehive for this client. You're not doing that. And you're also not going to get that graduation of color, which is why we're trying to do here with the V's. So we got that section there, and we're going to do another V right here. You guys are almost done. Can you believe it? I've got 2 more foils to go, and I'm finished.
Amazing.
So, and guess how much we charge for the salon for this?
How much?
It's a lot. It's just this technique would be $450 in Beverly Hills, and it'd be $550 in New York. And we spent about 15 minutes getting it on. And it's like, and again, it seems like wild to people when they see me work, because they're like, whoa, like you barely spent any time with that client. But it's like you're giving them a really cool result. And it's probably different than the majority of hairdressers are doing. So that it has to be something special. Like the clients, they definitely leave happy because they keep coming back. So we got the V shape here.
Yeah.
All right.
Great.
All right. Now the next piece is going to be the face framer money piece. Again, these are the ones that the clients really notice. These are the ones you have to get perfect. So what we're going to do with this one is, let's just look back at what we did before. You see how it's, you've got that strong pop right there. Okay.
Yeah.
So what we're doing with this, we're going to take a small triangular section. So this is your section here. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
I'll get a little closer. It's a small triangular section. And with this one, I tend to go with the finer tooth comb, so you can get in there really tight with this. Always 90 degrees. Push it down real tight. And you see, again, we talked about how we're doing horizontal. It's horizontal because it falls down to her face like this. So that's the placement that you want it to fall. So everything needs to be, again, super strategic because we're not doing very many and they're going to be very strong. So if you place it weird, it's going to look weird. Okay, and then you're going to do with this a little mini V. Yeah, the question that I think like, people also ask a lot when I do these techniques is like, how do I get that out? I think when they see all the back combing, I think the part that everyone's excited about is the getting out. So I think if you guys want, I can also show how I do that. I think that's one of those things that I think people avoid these techniques because maybe they don't have 3 assistants to do the shampoos, which definitely helps. But
Yes.
That's always my answer. How do you get them out? Is get a good assistant. But,
I would love to see that. I'm definitely one of those people because I do stuff on set so much, and like I'll do the traditional V balayage rather than the Quaranteeze or whatever because of the detangling. I would love to see your tricks for that.
Okay, so we see the little mini V shape here.
Yeah.
Okay. And then now our last section is going to be on her natural part. So again, we're working horizontally. This is where her hair falls. Can you see that okay?
Yeah.
Just take a whole slice around here. It's about, I'd say like about 1.5 inches thick. We're leaving all this as our shadow. All this hair here is our shadow, okay? So you leave this dark. You want that contrast. And pull it 90 degrees up.
George, as I'm watching you work, I'm thinking about you talking about price. And I would imagine what you're doing, because you're keeping the dimension, because of how beautiful and how it's popping, I'm guessing that they don't have to come back as often as they would if you did more. Like the line of demarcation, I would think that the grow out would be much softer.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The grow out grows out really seamlessly. And I always tell people, I think people ask me like, how are you so busy and so successful? And I tell the people a lot of times, like, I see it with a lot of other people who do hair, around me. And I think so many times people rely so much on toning to correct. They'll do a full highlight, they'll go in and put a shadow root, and they'll color melt, and they do all these things. And they leave the salon and they look gorgeous. And they take that Instagram picture and they look gorgeous.
Yeah.
But, we all know what happens with the toners. Within like 2 weeks, a lot of it washes out. And then you're left with hard lines, noodles, streaks, and then what happens is that like the client will be happy when she left. She paid her bill. But, 2 weeks later, a month later, her friends aren't asking her, who did your hair? Oh my God, I love your hair. Oh my God, who's doing your hair? Like, and with these techniques, they're so seamless, and I lift them right to where I want them. I typically only use toners if I have to, or if I'm trying to go for an effect. But ideally, especially when you're dealing with like virgin hair, it usually lifts right to where you want it, especially with these teasing techniques. Because I think when the hair gets pushed back down, it almost has like a toning effect on its own when you do that. So you
Yeah.
don't have to rely as much on tones. Plus, I don't max the hair out to white and then go back and tone it. I like keeping a little bit of a golden honey undertone because 2 reasons. Number one, you don't have to rely on toner. Number two, her hair's healthy, so you can do this again. And it's not going to shift colors. It's going to be essentially where you want it. But that's where it becomes like a mastering of the ideal tone. And that's what separates, I think, for me, like who are like the best colorists because they know how to take it off right when it's ready versus going to white and then going in with the toner.
Right.
So,
George, I'm going to, if you don't mind, if we've got some questions on your foils. Can you just take a look here? Is this what the back looks like? There's
yes, exactly how it
4
is.
foils, everyone, with no foils in between. And then the side, hold on, how do I get, am I close?
Now move
No.
a little. Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
So
That's
there's
exactly right.
Okay.
Actually, no, there's one more on the side. There's one foil.
Yeah,
I took a triangle. Oh, you got,
okay.
okay. There's like a little triangle on the side. I'd say like this section right here, from ear to here to your temple, there's one more foil.
Okay.
There's a foil, the face frame, and then the top side. So then there's a middle section that's no foils, and that's the one with no foils here.
Okay.
You can see here.
So, you're welcome, Franz. they're not meeting anywhere. They're just sort of strategically placed so that when the hair is in natural fall, it covers, it has the lightness in the right places.
Yeah, it looks like it's just crazy and teased, but they're very, very strategic.
Yep.
You can see on the side, there's the one on the side with the 2 face frames, and these are the 2 on the top. In the back, we just did the 4, so it's really just like 1 and 2. You know, there's not a lot. You don't need a lot. And again, the timing, because we're not using heat, it's going to take its time. So that's again, when people are saying like, you know, how do you eye it? It's knowing when to take it off. When you're not using heat, you can start checking it at 20 minutes, and then about every like 10 minutes after that, you know, it moves at its own pace, so you don't have to worry about it getting to white immediately. But you know, the finer the hair, the more careful you guys need to be.
Yeah.
So you guys want to go into getting it out now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me go rinse real quick. So the mistake that I think most people do is they wet everything down, including the matting. So what I do is we're going to take all the foils off. We only rinse off the lightener off the ends. Keep the matting dry. I know it sounds weird, but it makes your job so much easier because the wetting opens up the cuticle. It tangles the hair. When it's dry, it's already closed and tight. So once you do that, then you just glob a lot of conditioner and it comes out really easy. So I'm going to just show you guys, because I've done these classes with these mannequin heads and people are struggling for like an hour trying to get these out because a lot of times it's just their teasing's too tight or, you know, they, or really just like they're getting everything so wet.
Right.
So I'm just going to show you guys how easy, just the easier way to do it. There's also a special brushes you need to use. And I think that's what a lot of people do is the wrong brush.
I want to live in your kitchen. I want to cook in your kitchen, George.
Come, I love it. Thank you.
You're making me miss Mykonos, George, even though you're
right. Pretend we're at Scorpios here.
I've never been.
Oh my God, it's so fun. Okay, so we got this. So we rinsed off the lightener off the ends.
Yep.
The matting is still dry. So what you're gonna do is just take a really good slick conditioner. The more hydrating, the better. And just start placing these globs of conditioner on the balls of the hair. And again, it's like, it has to be very like careful. Like it's not gonna just like, don't just start attacking this thing. You have to think of like each section is its own little ball.
Yeah.
So you go in, and this is the brush that I think for me, I find is the best kind of brush to use. It's a wig brush. And these metal bristles really get into the same way you would get the matting out of your dog's hair. That's what this brush does for wigs, your clients. And this brand in particular, it's the Sheila Stotts removal brush. It's made for wigs and extensions, and
Nice.
it's really great at getting these out. But you can see when it's dry, it comes out really easy. Here's the little section. You got to factor in. It's going to take you, you need like 5 to 10 extra minutes of shampooing, but it's going to come out, and you can see like typically you're not losing any hair in the process. That sounds worse than it actually is, but the hair could definitely handle this. And I think this is the part that I think people freak out about. But if you go be patient and go section by section, you saw how quickly that one section was. It's the same with this one. You start going in, start pulling it apart, and you're going to pull it apart like this, but just start working with it and section by section. And it's really gonna soften the whole thing for you guys.
Excellent. Excellent. I think there was some concern about, wanting to make sure that the client felt comfortable at the back. And I think that this is exactly, exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah, you can show them the brush. I always show them, like, listen, you're not losing any hair. You're good. It's still here. Because I think it sounds worse when they hear the pulling and the tugging. But
Yeah.
it's really just about being just like patient, going in section by section, and getting it all out. But these are like, the end result, it's hard to get this from freehand. When I started doing hair, I used to be like a balayage freehand only guy. I used to be like so anti-foils.
Yeah.
And what I found that this technique, it gives me the same effect as the freehand does.
Mhm.
The placement's exactly the same of where I would hand paint them in, but it's almost like putting it on steroids.
Yeah.
Because when you isolate it in the foil, it'll give you those 8 levels of lift in one shot, where it's hard to get that from freehand only. Anyone who's done freehand work, you're probably going to get like probably 4 levels of lift, 6 if you're lucky. And so it requires multiple appointments. And as much as our clients, they're patient, they also want what they want. They show you a picture, they want to leave with it the way it is. So that's why I think for me, like those cheesy lights, they really, really give you, that pop that's really trending right now and that girls really like. And again, like I typically like to incorporate it with like freehand work on top. And I think when you combine the two techniques together, it creates a really soft, seamless blend.
Yeah, what I love, well, first, I just want to thank you because when we first went into lockdown, if you will, quarantine, I was saying that I'd like to get better. Whenever I balayage, I always have that orange up at the top. And so I use foils, right? I do the same placement, V's using foils, but sometimes I feel like it's not exactly, it's looked down upon, right? And now I just feel validated, George. You've made me feel validated.
I love it.
So I don't have to worry about it anymore. I'm going to keep using my damn foils.
Yeah, thank you. Good. Yeah, you got it. Like the thing is, like with these trends, everything changes so fast, so you have to be adaptable. And if you stuck to the freehand, you started falling behind, and you weren't getting those looks. So
everyone's still shocked about the 15 foils. George, everyone loves.
Here's the other. Here's again to see if you guys want to see what it looked like before. It's not a lot, and you're gonna get maximum impact. So again, for us, I'm worried about the salons reopening, but I think what we've decided in our salon, because for me, like I don't only just double book, like I like quadruple book. There's 4 appointments an hour usually on my schedule. So I think what we're planning on doing in our salon is, for me and a couple of the other really busy colorists, they're gonna give us actually like 75% of the salon for 3 days. And that way we can space all of our clients out, and we'll do shifts as well, like starting at 7 a.m. and maybe be done by 4.
Yeah.
And that way I can still accommodate everybody like I normally do versus, I don't want to work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week to accommodate.
Yeah, I don't think that that's exactly healthy either. You know what I mean?
No, I don't think it's physically possible.
Yeah, I don't think it's physically, mentally, or spiritually the best thing to do.
Yeah.
So thank you, George. I know you've got a little bit of time left in both places that you work, New York and California, to sort of figure out what your now normal is going to be moving forward. But know that we're here with you. Everybody continue to follow George because he gives you a lot of great information. I know he posted the pre-look of that today on his Instagram. We've got Franz is saying, thank you for sharing your tips with about 500 red hearts. So lots of love, lots of love going over to you, George, from not only our viewers, but from us. And certainly when the lockdown is lifted, then we can have a party right there in your kitchen, I think.
Right.
Yes, for sure.
Excellent. Thank you, George. Everybody give it up for
Thank
George.
you so much,
Thanks for
George.
everything.
Thank you. You were amazing.
Thank you
so much. Wow.
Well, that was awesome.
So
15 foils. Can you believe it?
It's so funny. I didn't even mention it. George and I actually assisted the same colorist before, but George was after me. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. So like similar, ran in the same circles. Yeah, what he shared was so valuable for me just because I don't foil as much. I do, but I love that you felt validated. I felt confident that like I can go in and do that technique. And it was just the way he does it is so simple, and it just goes to show that the clients come back, they pay top dollar for it. I think a lot of it is it's the end result, and then it's the way we make them feel during that service, right?
It's always about the way that we make them feel, no matter what. I remember being young and behind the chair and standing next to people who were like, I've been doing this much longer and I'm a better hairdresser than you. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm nice to my clients.
Yep.
And I listen to them, and you just are like, wham, bam, get them out, ma'am. So, so there's that. So we've got somebody special coming up. Before we do that, let's go to one other question that was sent in to us, and then we'll bring in this next very, very special lady. We've been waiting to get her on here. So let's see, what do we got coming in for us?
Let's do it.
Hi everybody, my name is Courtney Latini. I am the business owner of CB Hair Design in the great state of New York. We have been closed since our state mandated on March 20th, and tomorrow marks day one of regional reopening. Although salons in the area fall into the category of phase 2, my questions are for the businesses that have already reopened in other states. What will your policy be on services? Will you be blow drying and providing protective equipment? And in return, what will the pricing structure look like if there's any increase for supplies needed to ensure safety?
Excellent question. Excellent question. Do you have any thoughts on that, Alfredo? I have a million.
I'll let you take this one. I do too, but I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, I mean, they're not necessarily my thoughts. At the end of the day, we've been talking to a lot of people as they've gone back. You absolutely, the strategy is to get your PPE equipment, because what we're finding is some people can't find it. Casey Yee, who's on our team, she had a great advice, a piece of advice, which is where, sometimes you have to scroll page 2, 3, 4, 5 when you're Googling stuff to find your PPE equipment. But inevitably she's found some great stuff. And I think that, again, it's all about that communication. We're going to go back to the Facebook or the FaceTime consultation. How do we make sure that we have that conversation ahead of time and let them know, you please come with a mask. If not, one will be provided for you at an additional charge. Now, that's also up to you. I mean, I'm not sure that I would charge, but maybe I would, because I've already told them to come with one, and maybe they should pay. So the additional pricing is interesting. The blow drying, you're going to have to, again, everybody's got a different opinion. Braden from just the hair salons in Georgia blow dries the back minimally, sometimes puts them under a hood dryer if it's a more natural look, and then doesn't blow dry in their face, right? So he's not like, then everybody's sort of got there. And that I think is actually going to be mandated, if I'm not if I'm speaking correctly, it's going to be mandated on what you do by the state board. So if you're in the
Yeah.
United States of America, you need to go to your state board of cosmetology, and they're going to tell you what's right for your state. If you are not in the United States, then you're going to need to go to and want to go to your local government agency and see if they have mandated anything. And then I know we spoke with someone from Sweden last Wednesday, and she is a barber. They never shut down, but did start implementing face masks, even though it wasn't mandated, and gives the client the option on whether they want to wear one or not. So it's, I hate to say it's all over the place because, but it is. And some of it's going to be your level of comfort, and some of it's going to be what's mandated. Alfredo, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think as business owners, it's going to be a bit all over the map, and that's okay right now. I do think that the price structure is going to need to be rethought. I think the service menu is going to need to be rethought, just like the rules of the road, if you will, are going to need to be rethought. The rules, I don't think it needs to be a bad thing. I think we can make this a positive thing coming out of this. I think that we can be really smart about this and really elevate our industry. But we were talking about this earlier, I think as an industry, meaning collectively, all of us, we really have an opportunity right now, and we kind of have one chance to get it right, because however we rewrite this is how it's going to carry out. So I think we need to really strategically think about like what services are going to make sense right now in this new normal. How can we rethink the pricing structure and what service menu will look like? Depending on all those things that you talked about, the timing and all of that. And as far as the masks, I think that, it's all about those communication. Here we go. You said it just now too, but making sure your clients know this is the new normal in the salon. Bring a mask. If not, we're going to have to charge you. If you have an appointment and you're over 15 minutes late, I'm going to have to charge you for the appointment or take a deposit, because right now there's limited amounts of time that we're allowing guests to, all those things need to be pre-thought out and presented to the clients, because if you don't communicate, it's not the client's fault. You didn't tell them. But if you tell them ahead of time and they have everything laid out, you're not going to have any issues.
That's right. That's right. One of the things that I did hear, though, that I liked was don't automatically discount. People are like, oh, I'm afraid my client isn't going to have any money. They lost their job, blah, blah. Don't automatically discount all of your services. If you've had that virtual consultation, you'll know exactly what's going on in their life. And depending on what type of client they are for you and your relationship with them, you're going to need to make those calls on a case-by-case basis. So don't just assume everybody's in dire straits and you need to slash your pricing.
Yeah, I want to add to that, because you and I both talk to so many different hairstylists all the time. And I don't know what you've been hearing, but I've been hearing a lot of hairstylists say that they're very surprised when they have gone back to work, that the clients are actually tipping more than they ever have before. They're bringing gifts. Are you hearing the same? That's what I'm hearing, that they're getting so much love and support from their clients. So don't, because like I said, what you do is going to set precedent for what moves forward. So just like, I agree with you so wholeheartedly. Don't just assume that and start giving discounts to everybody, because that may not be, you may walk into a very different reality than what you expected.
That's exactly right. Well, part of R&B, as we've always said, is not only sort of breaking down these walls or barriers of brands and what used to be, well, that brand does that and that brand does that. It's all about hairstylists coming from hairstylist to hairstylist. And what we know is that there's many facets to our being, right? There's many facets to our ability to be able to be like these industry athletes. One is the physical, which is like what we do behind the chair. And then there's this other piece, which is, well, there's lots. There's also the finance one, which we'll get to in many other future back to business episodes that we're going to do. But there's also this mental and spiritual bit. And, now more than ever, we had a change that we went through going into this crisis. And now that we're getting ready to go and get prepared to go back, it's actually a completely different mental exercise and spiritual exercise and emotional exercise. And we just had Ricky Zito join us. Life is beautiful. Life is beautiful, Ricky. So glad to have you with us. And so what we want to do is make sure that we're arming you not only with the technical skills to be able to go back as the warrior that you are, but also how do you take care of yourself in a mental, spiritual way that you can be an even stronger warrior, because that's really, really what makes you strong. You've got the technical skills, you're learning amazing new skill set, but how do you protect yourself so that you can really be that warrior when you go back? And so Alfredo, I know you know her, you love her in a different way than you met her in a different way than I did. I believe you call her your best friend.
I feel like we both have to intro her. Like we all go first and then you close it and bring her on. I feel like we both have intros for her. What do you think?
Sure. I mean, I'm ready to bring her on. You go right ahead.
We both know her so well, right?
Just get her on here. She's talking anyway. Get her on here, right? Alfredo.
We both love her. We both know her. I've known her for about 6 years. We've traveled all over the world together, educating. I know you know her so well. Let's just bring her on and start.
That's right. Talking. Everybody, give it up for Rebecca Taylor.
Me. Thanks, guys. It was okay. So first of all, shout out to your technical team for troubleshooting the issues, getting my ass on, first of all. So big love to Steve and Conrad and your team. They did amazing. So we were about to have an existential crisis thinking we'd have to do this via audio, but I love you both very, very much, not only as friends, but mentors, just industry leaders. I love you and I'm happy to be here. I don't even know where to start, but I do want to say one thing. You mentioned, Sheri, before I forget about it, you mentioned like, the states are mandating, the guidelines and all that. And we'll get into this more, but I took on a coaching project and I know you're going to probably prompt a lot of questions about that to do with mental health and our conversations or whatever. But actually, they reopened or we're going to reopen Saturday in New Mexico with zero government guidelines, not a one, not a single, nothing. It was implemented. And so she just had to look to other states that were reopening and they were just off on their own. No PPE, no guidelines, nothing. So I've been talking to a lot of stylists all over the world. And it's just, like you said, it's different for everybody. Like, for example, in Maryland right now, you can only have one client and one stylist in a salon. And I know somebody personally, it's a large salon. So that's it. That's the way it works. And you can't, it's just, we're all having to make, people that have gone back to work are having to make huge sacrifices and pivot and change. And the new normal that we're all trying to navigate is crazy. It's different for everybody. So it's really hard to keep track of, but that's what I just wanted to mention, that about it being crazy that some states are saying, here, go to work, but we're not going to tell you how to stay safe or what to use or PPE or any guidelines. And you have to look to maybe Georgia or Florida or Texas, or don't even get me started on Texas. But, there's, once we reopen, it's unfortunate that, in a lot of places, reopening is happening a little too soon. And no matter what side of the fence you're on, I've been very vocal about my side, but I'm also very accepting and understanding of everybody's choice or necessity to go back to work. So I've been vocal about mine, but it's just a shame that if you reopen early and then you see a huge influx of the contraction of the virus, or it's just sad to see. Honestly, it's sad to see. So anyway, enough boo talk. Let's talk to me. Ask me stuff.
Yeah, no, it's okay, because I think that's the point, right? That it's hard for everyone. We see the comments coming in. Liza is from South Africa. They're still fighting to open salons. You've got, I'm sorry, Franz from South Africa. Liza's saying it's the same in Wisconsin. And I think it's this number one, you're just looking for leadership, right? You want someone to say, this is what's going on. This is what we need to do. This is what you need to do when you go back to business, and guess what? If it's the same virus in every state, in every country, then the reaction to it, we would think would be the same. And as humans, we're looking for that sort of guidance, direction, leadership. And I think when it's all over the place, it's that anxiety, that lack of knowing, the going like, okay, what is right? What isn't right? You hear so many different things that causes this inner turmoil, which then can cause many other things, which I know you're super passionate about, Rebecca. So why don't you tell our viewers here and our watchers later for the post episodes as it's posted, what has been going on with you and what are some things that you've been sort of keeping focus on in order to get yourself and others through this very difficult time?
Okay, so I'm gonna, for me, gonna do the abridged version. Really gonna try to, So, so I was born in '81. No, I'm just kidding. So at the beginning of, okay, so we closed our salon. We're in West Hollywood. If anybody isn't familiar with anything I've talked about on my platform, so I instantly knew, I felt that it was best to close early, immediately, given what was happening in New York and given that like every day we're seeing more cases and it being so uncertain. Safety was like my utmost concern. I needed to protect my staff. Most of my staff, and myself included, have extreme autoimmune issues and are at risk. So we closed very, very early. We've been closed for 60 plus days since March 12th. And in California, first they said maybe June. I honestly, I respect the fact that our governor is being ultra safe. That again is just my opinion and my position. I don't judge other people that are like, give us our right to work. I totally respect that viewpoint. But my feeling is that, it's better to kind of see what happens and, just safe, better. It's better to be safe than to, see a bunch of crazy things happen. So they said June, then they said July, then they said, we're not even going to give you a phase. It's indefinite. So TBA as far as when we can reopen. Don't know when I'm going to reopen the salon. So my first week of quarantine, like a lot of us, I'm sure, was, oh my God, first of all, I can't do hair. I can't make money. My staff, I try not to get emotional, but you guys fucking know me. I get really emotional. Oh, can I curse on this? I didn't know if I could or not.
You're all right.
But I'm gonna keep it. It's not your channel, Sheri, so I'm gonna keep it to a minimum. But I'm a huge empath, and so my first thought was, let me get it together. Red Bull, come for me. I've been doing a lot of breathing lately. Woosa. Okay. So my first thought is like, how are my staff gonna survive? Not me, but hold on, let me get my shit together.
It's okay. It's all right.
How are my staff gonna survive? Because I feel responsible for them. So the first thing I did was said, no more rent. You're paying no more rent until, I'm not gonna have the salon closed and you pay rent. And I know other salon owners have had or chosen to do, see, it goes just as quick as it comes. So anyway, they've chosen to still continue, like suites and stuff have still made their clients, or their stylists pay rent throughout the closure. And for me, that was just not gonna happen. So instantly, no more paying rent. And when we do go back, they get a month of just working for free to get on their feet again. So let me get it together. Okay, I just think about my staff, and it's just like your family,
Yes.
That's you guys know I'm incredibly emotional, but I am gonna get it together. I'm not gonna cry this whole time. It's just hard for all of us. So the first week was very hard. It was hard to get out of bed. I didn't have any routine. I was just mentally in a bad place. And then the second week, I was like, I can't do this. We don't know how long this is going to last. I can't live like this. I can't be productive. I love Brene Brown. Love her. And if you guys really want some good shit, she started her first podcast right when quarantine started. So it's everything to do with like coping right now, specifically to do with the virus and everything that's going on, like anxiety, mental health, what have you. So she mentioned one about anxiety, and you either are incredibly overproductive or you're underproductive. So my first week I was super unproductive. Like my anxiety, I couldn't do anything. I was like paralyzed with anxiety. And then I went right into overproductivity. For me, I'm realizing, and I'm sure a lot of people are realizing during this time with nothing to do but to think and to ruminate and to all day, every day. We're discovering a lot of things about ourselves and about our patterns and what we want to change and our identity, especially being tied to our identity as a hairstylist. And if we're not a hairstylist, who are we? What do we do? So that's why it's been very difficult for people. But she speaks about being ultra overproductive and underproductive. And so, like I said, after that first week, I went right into unhealthy overproductivity. And so I was like, I just want to help everybody. I want to give money away, which now I'm like, fuck, I really could use that. But I'm glad I did it. I'm really sorry. Alfredo is like, who do we have on here today?
You
You
know
know who you got up.
He knows.
I love
you
you.
both
I
know
love you,
you-
and I love this.
I-
I think it's our first cuss words on R&B, but I'm not mad at
I'm
it.
sorry.
No, don't
Okay,
be.
You don't have
I'm
to be
trying-
sorry.
Don't be sorry.
Okay.
Yes,
I
I
just-
don't know why he's being like the church lady. Don't you
No!
worry.
I'm like not being the
Alfredo.
church.
Church
I've
lady.
teared, I'm laughing, I'm everything. It's like
Alfredo.
We were backstage and they had the banquet blankets, so we put the choir robes on and we were like, I'll send you the
I do remember. I do remember.
Have we lost?
Oh no. Oh no.
Okay, if our team backstage
can get a
Rebecca.
message.
We've got some audio situations here, but in the
there we
meantime,
go.
why don't we first of all, if we're not getting it all now, then we're going to ask Rebecca to certainly do a video with us because she is incredibly passionate about what she's been doing, and it makes a lot of sense while she's working out it looks like she's working out an audio thing. But let's go to another question. We've got another question that was sent in to us.
Oh, we do, don't we?
Yeah.
Hey, this is Micah from York, South Carolina at Rival Salon and Color Studio. One of my questions is, what is everybody doing to accommodate guests and staff who have opposing opinions on social distancing and masks versus no masks in the salon once we go back to work?
I do love seeing these. It's amazing.
I do too.
To
It's so
see
good to
them
see.
from everywhere that they're at and what's going on. So that's absolutely fantastic. So yes, so the question being, there might be people who don't feel the same. I live on New York City. I take my dog on a WALK. I don't want to get her all excited. And people are walking right next to each other. They pass right close. Yesterday, I actually, had to chat with a man because he coughed just out into the universe and then spat on the ground right where I was getting ready to walk with the dog. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, I know you don't live under a rock. That's not really what I said, but that is what I was thinking, because then I had to take the dog all the way around, and then it's in front of where I walk every day. So then I asked the restaurant people to please hose it down. Like, it's a really interesting thing. So you are going to have people out there who do not agree with the same things. At the end of the day, this isn't about a personal opinion. This is about the measures that need to be respected in order to keep yourselves and everyone around you safe. It is only about that. So it's not about whether you you want to wear one, whether you don't want to wear one, whether you heard that, whether you've already had it, etc. You do what the right thing is to respect the rules. As I'm going to be all like the rule lady, right? Respect the rules, because the rules are put in place to keep you safe. Now, if you have a salon, and I heard this from Braden, I think on Thursday, and you have clients who aren't respecting those rules that you've put in place for your salon, and you have stylists who aren't respecting those rules, then I think he said the first time you get a warning, and then the second time you may it's either the second or the third time you get charged. And I think it was like a couple $100. And they were like, what, you're going to take my money? And he's like, if you're going to put people in a compromising situation that is much more than that, than just about those couple $100, then yes, I'm going to, because it's all about the rules of the salon. So I would just go back, if you want to go back on the Redken page and Instagram TV. Braden every week has been doing a back to business series with me. It's called Old Fashions and New Business. And yes, we drink old fashions. Yes, I think mine are probably better than his. And one day we'll have Alfredo do the taste test. And in the meantime, he is going through some of those things. So go back and see it. Now, in the other meantime, we have Rebecca Taylor back with us.
I'm sorry.
Standing. And there she is.
Yes,
Woo-hoo!
I'm sorry. My little buds crapped out. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
We can hear
Okay,
you.
good. Okay, I don't know what I was crying about. No, I'm just kidding. But when I had a similar experience to you, and this, geographically, there are just so many different scenarios. Like there are rural areas, and then there are big cities. I mean, you guys live in NYC. I live in West Hollywood. I had a similar situation. I'm always with a mask on, no matter what, because even if I didn't like it, it gave me anxiety, it makes me uncomfortable. I do it for other people. I think it's not only a guideline, but just it's just, why not do it? And that's the very frustrating thing to me, is that there are people that do it and don't do it because of whatever reason. And if it's just that if we all can just unify and buckle down and just follow these certain guidelines, who knows how much quicker that we can get a handle on this. You know what I mean? It's just very frustrating that some people right now, there's stages of just dealing with stuff. And right now, a lot of people are in that bargaining restlessness, like, well, I haven't seen anything, so I'm not going to wear my mask anymore. So I've been seeing more and more people. And when I walk to Ralph's, actually, I don't know if maybe like a shelter got the funding got shut down, but as you know, in big cities, there's a lot of homelessness. There's a lot of people with mental illness, a lot of people, just a lot of people. It's populated. So I was walking to Ralph's, and I was walking by, and a gentleman pushed a shopping cart into me, and then spat on me yesterday.
Oh.
And I was just like, oh,
Yeah.
Ooh, that was scary. It's
Yeah.
scary. So I feel you, I mean, I'm glad you had a talk with that person, but I think this person for sure had some, a mental illness. And so I wasn't going to try to explain safety and masks.
Right.
I was just going to haul ass into Ralph's and be like, save me,
Yeah.
But it's just, it's different in different parts of the country. And so when you're in a maybe rural area and you're not seeing the cases and things like that, it may be hard to understand. And it may be that bargaining phase where like, well, I don't have to, because, there aren't a lot of people and, what have you. But, I'm not going to get into all of just the insane, just bombarding resources and media and there's just, it comes from everywhere. But my position has been, consider the source of where you're getting your information. And I particularly choose to get my information from scientists, medical professionals, I don't know, trusted, not necessarily even, I mean, of course, government protocols, because then I know what my state says that I can do as far as work. But I still have the choice as a stylist, as a salon owner, whether or not I want to reopen based on the information that I'm getting from medical professionals and frontline workers and what have you. So what I'm hearing from a lot of my coaching clients is that their state's reopening, but they have so much anxiety because they don't feel safe yet. Either they have a immune issue, or now that, you know, there's the adaptation of the virus, that kids are being affected. They don't want to take it home to their families. They feel sick to death, you know, mentally and with anxiety. Like, what if I'm the cause of someone in my salon, some guest being sick, or whatever, and them take it home to their family. There's so much anxiety surrounding reopening, and there's just so many like intricate ins and outs. But as far as PPE goes, I started the day we closed ordering PPE from Amazon. Now it's incredibly difficult to acquire via Amazon, because now it's like either sold out, incredibly like higher, like more, the prices increase because it's in high demand. And I just been getting little bits at a time. I haven't been hoarding because I felt like, you know, the frontline people maybe, you know, needed access to it before us as stylists do. But now I have a full on comprehensive kit of like the thermometer. I even have booty foot covers. I've got plastic aprons, disposable towels. I've got, you name it, I've got it. UV this, and you name it. And actually, I'm gonna be making a video where I do a salon tour and show every single thing that I have. And I've got some tips and tricks that I have not seen anybody share before. One little tidbit is that my boyfriend used to be in HVAC, so he knows about the filtration systems or whatever. Well, there's actually a filtration system that's fairly inexpensive, that it's, you know, a HEPA type filter, but also has UV light. So once the air is filtered through, it's filtered through like UV light as well as the HEPA filter. So I'm talking about some, you know, crazy radical things just to make yourself feel super safe about reopening. So yeah, my standpoint about PPE and safety is I haven't changed my position. I won't. I'm just gonna continue being in quarantine and staying at home, and only necessity trips and nature trips away from people until you know, California says we can do otherwise. Because when they opened the beaches for a day, it was bombarded. You couldn't social distance, and then there was a giant influx. There was like 13 or 1,800 cases overnight, and that was like a huge jump from before they implemented. So there's so much there's so many statistics showing, but that's loaded. One thing I want to say is, what is most important to me is that we don't become divided. We have enough going on to fight and bicker. So what I could, girl and boy, girls, babies. Anyway, so as far as like my mentor, I've been making graphics. I've got like a 50-page questionnaire. Like, I am like going hard and heavy. I'm writing a damn book in quarantine, and I'm also creating like just, that's for a later date. But I have been researching like almost obsessively everything to do with mental health, all of the, you know, practices for the salon. What the heck was I saying before I started? It was really good, and it was coaching, and it was I can't remember what it was before I showed you that graphic. Do you guys remember?
No, but let's talk a little bit about your coaching, because we know what we know, and people are excited to see your video, is that you are going to implement some very extraordinary and awesome measures to keep yourself as well as your clients and of course your family of stylists safe. So we'll wait for that video. How are you helping yourself as well as others stay, you know, mentally and emotionally safe?
Well, Sheri, as you know, thank goodness that you you actually helped me through a difficult time, because I was losing it. I was losing it because I took on too much too quick because of that overproductivity. Just lead, act, help, fix, you know. And then I put myself on the back burner, and I don't know why I'm crying again. It just comes out physically as water, and I don't necessarily feel an emotional thing. It just comes out. But
get her back.
So if I do
Steve,
it, just I'm not going to talk about it. We'll keep moving past it. But I put myself last. I ended up, you know, just like impulsive. I'm very impulsive. I don't know if you know that about me, but I did it in a live, and I said, I just feel like I need to help. So in a live, not ever a post, no construct, no, just nothing. I said I would be offering coaching where I would be doing the resources, and I would be, setting up the construct was like several, 3 sessions a day on whatever they wanted to focus on. The questionnaire was, what do they need most right now? So I felt myself being like a therapist, and the PPE, the salon stuff, just everything. It was overwhelming. I couldn't say no to I couldn't say no to anybody who contacted me for coaching. And I honestly made the price so low because I didn't want this to be like, like a way really to make like I don't know. I had to charge something obviously for the work that I was doing. And Alfredo, you mentioned about like being guilty about increasing the prices or whatever. Well, hell, PPE is expensive. All the extra time, you can't feel guilty about charging what you need to charge. Okay, so I did charge a low price, and then I ended up going bananas on Amazon to buy all these beautifully curated binders that I'm going to make for people. So I ended up losing money on the coaching to begin with, but I was helping people and I impacted a lot of people. But I hit a wall probably a weekend and had a really like messed up Hashimoto's flare up, knocked me on my ass. And so actually, after speaking with you, Sheri, you put a lot of things in perspective, and I went kind of public about it on my platform, which is my therapy. Honestly, being real on my platform and talking about what I'm going through. Not only I feel like does it make me relatable, and there's just so much perfection and curated, like everything's great, and like quotes, and I just feel like there needs to be more rawness, maybe not to this extent, but like speak the truth and be vulnerable, because you don't know, other people are going through the same shit. So when they see you going through stuff, it's relatable. They don't feel so alone. They feel like everybody's going through it. Instagram's not perfect. People aren't perfect, and what I had a thought about was that, when I was in my overproductive getting things done phase, which I'm back in, by the way, and I'm trying to pace myself. That's what I learned. People might see me online doing that and have guilt, like I should be doing that, because I do that. Because when I'm at a low point, or when I was going through my Hashimoto shit, I was like seeing people like busting out mannequins and, like just, doing all the stuff. And I was like, I should be doing that. And, the whole comparison thing. But maybe when in my productivity mode, someone could be watching me and be in the same thing. Like, oh, I should be, it's perspective. So Sheri, you told me to put myself first, and I took on too much, which I did. And so that later that night, I was public about everything that was going on. It was enormous weight lifted off my shoulders, and I ended up refunding everybody that I hadn't started working with yet, because I was literally booked from the day I started until the middle of June with no days off. That's what I did. I couldn't say no to anybody. And so I made myself sick, literally sick. And so mental health is very important. The messed up thing, I'm in a great place right now. And I don't know why I'm crying. It's just like, there's just so much that people are going through. Myself included. You guys, you're in New York. I'm like terrified of my friends like in New York. When Mustafa got sick, I had a meltdown for a day. I was just like, oh my God. It's just heavy, but you know what? It's all right to feel your feelings, and it's all right to be vulnerable, because being vulnerable just means you're real. You don't have to hide it. You don't have to be fake. Yeah. We're going through something the world has never gone through, ever. That's ever. Right. How the hell are you going to navigate it? You feel it, you get the tears out, you don't apologize for it, which I've apologized because this is a live thing and I don't want to look like a complete wreck. But
you don't. Everybody say big hugs. You're not alone. Lots of love. Don't you worry. You don't look like a wreck. You look like you're you, representing one person, representing what so many people are feeling. Please don't apologize. Sending love.
Thank you. I'm just not I'm just a crier. I cry because I'm happy.
Yeah, me too.
I cry what good. I know we talked. Yes, I know. And I thank God. And I cry when I'm happy. I cry for commercials. I cry when I laugh. I cry when I'm upset. I'm a crier. I can't help it. So when it starts, it's like the seal's broken. So I mean, of any other time, I think, you know, it's a pretty acceptable time to feel your emotions, to go through them, because bottling them up is just going to manifest themselves in physical ways, and you're just going to explode at some point. So and that is also the advice that you gave me, is just, you know, speak. I can't even tell you how grateful I am for the discussion we had. But like, after I finally like cleared my schedule and had days to take care of myself, essentially, and to be with my family. I wasn't even like seeing my brother. Those of you that don't know, like, we took my brother in the end of January. He moved from Florida to California, right in the nick of time, because he was in a bad way, you know, didn't really have a stable living situation. So I'm very grateful that we have him. But that's another thing. And so shout out to the parents who are homeschooling right now. Oh my gosh. I mean, he's a teen. So I mean, you guys handling the littles day in and day out, and now going back to work. Superheroes. Mothers are superheroes. So whatever the case, stepmoms, whatever the case, any kind of mother figure, you guys are amazing. So props to you guys. But I wasn't spending time with my family. I wasn't spending time with my partner. I wasn't spending time on myself. I was doing yoga like every single day. And during that time, I put myself on the back burner, and being an empath and feeling people's pain every single day on the phone without even like having a construct of how I'd even do it, or boundaries. Or my very first session, I stayed on the phone for maybe 4 hours in the morning with somebody, my very first client. And it was like I was a therapist, and it was out of the realm of what I was comfortable with or what I should be talking about. It was like, you should speak with a therapist kind of stuff. And like, I just wanted to help and give advice and industry stuff. And now I've gotten to a place where it's limited. I have a few people that I've been working with. LA, sorry, sirens all the time, everywhere. You remember Alfredo? It's
Come to New York. It's like by that times a million. Yeah.
I can't even say anything. I know. I yeah. Go to India. Yo, India.
We were just there, Sheri.
I know. Yeah. I heard honking horns in my dreams for like a year. Like, I don't even know. It was nuts. But that's how they say I'm going right, I'm going left. Is the do 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 do. They like communicate in traffic via horn. Not anyway. But I've gotten in a great place with this coaching. This is something now that I have. It's a self-discovery. It's what I want to pursue moving forward. This is a time for self-discovery. I mean, I still want to do hair, and I still want to educate, absolutely. But for 17 years, I've done nothing but obsessively focus on doing hair and doing, you know, demos and what have you. That's why I didn't want to do a demo on here. It's because I feel like there's loads of education online. I mean, if you scroll through 8 years or however long of my Instagram, you can watch hundreds and hundreds of hours of education. So I feel like right now that I have something more that I can offer. And that's pivoting, you know. I as soon as I realized that I couldn't do hair, or that I didn't feel motivated to do hair. And I felt like for the first time after 17 years of just, like I said, obsessively living it, breathing it, and again, making being a stylist my identity. That was my sole identity. I realized like I'm a human outside of hair. I remembered what hobbies were. I like didn't have any hobbies. I didn't do anything. I didn't see my friends very often. I was like, shit, there's life outside of this industry. So, but it's balance. And now that I'm in a good headspace and I'm helping people, PS, the people that I've worked with have made miraculous strides. I've started talking to people their first day, they were mental wrecks and couldn't get out of bed and were like extremely depressed and what have you. And I've got people doing yoga 2 times a day and on their local news, freaking starting up coalitions. Like I'm like, yes, it's working. It's working. So I just needed to downsize and focus on, you
Yes.
know, I spread myself way too thin. And now I'm able to focus on myself. I'm able to focus on the people I'm working with. And now I want to do hair again. And I did my chunks, my
Yes.
I saw that.
my
I
chunky
loved it.
nouveau. Yeah, so I got the mannequins busted out. I'm like, I'm there again. I wasn't there for 60 days, but after 17 years, I think you deserve a break, maybe of not doing hair for, you know, whatever. I wasn't feeling that like needed in that way, you know?
Yeah.
So now I feel like gung ho. It's like, send me all the products, send me all the heads. I just want to color everybody and all the wigs.
I love you.
Like, I'm so ready. So I'm there again, but I just needed to process. And I think, you know, it's about relevancy and timing. My voice is cracking. I'm going through puberty. So it's you two. I feel like we're just hanging like normal.
Yeah.
But I forget there's other people watching us. So anyway, I can't wait to see you guys again in person. But it's a process. It's just a process, and I'm going to be sharing a lot more on my page. And speaking of content, another thing, I wasn't drawn to hair content. I was drawn to humor. I was drawn to doing things that I wasn't comfortable with doing, like makeup tutorials, which make people laugh. And that's what people need right now. They need a reprieve from going to social media and just doom, gloom, anxiety, depression, what have you, you know, like they need to curate. First of all, people need to curate their media consumption and to not, you know, be bombarded with stuff that's going to incite anxiety and fear and depression or whatever. How should I say this? Consume content and, you know, media outlets or whatever that are factual and that are uplifting and motivational and educational and that make you laugh and that make you feel good, because you know what? We need joy right now. We need joy. And I'm going to do a post soon after we're done with this about how I feel about the situation. You know, my novels and my posts, you know, I'm very vocal. So it's just kind of where I'm at, what I've been doing, and structure has been pivotal. And Sheri, I also gotta give you props on this. I've been doing my morning gratitude. I recently implemented, I was waking up at 7:30. That's one thing I'm proud of. Ever since quarantine, no matter my first, like, you know, bell jar week, after that, no matter what, I always woke up at 7:30, no matter what. That was something that I didn't want to deviate away from because I knew I might sleep all day. So, but now I'm like, I don't have enough time in the day to do all the things I want to do. So now I've switched it to 6 a.m. So I've got Post-it notes everywhere. Actually, one over there says, "Don't you effing hit that snooze button, you dumbass," right on my phone. And I put my phone away from arm's reach, so I have to get out of bed to turn the alarm off. So little tips and tricks. Smart. And so and you should see my bathroom. It's just 50 million post-it notes, you know, with reminders. And you know, Sheri, again, I've been logging like my gratitude in the morning. That gets you in like your state, like a good positive peak state, and you like meditate separately on the things you have gratitude for. And then my thing is making the bed first thing in the morning. It's a small step, but this one, like, I don't know, these Army Navy, it's some general. It was like a graduation commencement speech, and he talked about making the bed. I don't know if you guys saw it, but
No.
it was I'll try to find it and post it on my page, but it's powerful, and it's talking about like structure and routine, and about how something as small as when you wake up in the morning, making your bed sets the tone of the day, because it's not just waking up, throwing the covers, and then there's just like, I don't know, it's a symbolic thing for me that I've implemented. So yeah. I'm doing the waking up thing, the gratitude thing, got to take my slew of medications for my thyroid / whatever the hell I got going on thing. And then journal, yoga, coaching, content. And then I recently have been doing a little too much, but I'm learning to not have guilt if I don't get every single thing done in a day that I had planned. And taking just guilt in general. I'm trying to get rid of the horrible habit of guilt for just guilt in general, you know?
Yeah.
And the last thing I do at night, also nod to Sheri, is I write my wins in my journal. So before I go to bed, I write down what I accomplished that day or I was proud of or what I did right. And then one last thing I'll say is that I limit my social media consumption. I try really hard to anyway. Not 1 hour. What am I trying to say? When I wake up, 1 hour, no social media, and then I can ease into it. And then right before I go to bed, no social media 1 hour prior to going to bed, because you don't need to be bombarded with everything, all the chaos, especially Facebook, kind of like about Facebook right now. Kind of like about Facebook. I know there's positive places. They're good outlets, but I scroll and I'm like, who are these? I don't even know these people with these posts. I'm like, block, delete, mute. My mute finger is hot. Anyway, I'm serious. I have actually unfollowed some people that I've actually been scared to scared, just wondering about the ramifications. I don't give a flying shit. Some people need to be mute or blocked during this time.
Yeah.
Because again, consider the source when you get your information. So anyway, that's all I got to say about the practice. I love you, Alfredo.
I love you.
I love you more. So you got to protect your space. You got to protect yourself from what you're consuming. And so there's so many just different practices and routines, and that is, my friends, what I am a healthy obsession is gathering. I actually am going to show you. This is a fraction a fraction. Think 12 times this many books and magazines and whatever, and just really compiling all of the reading and studying and podcasts, and just like a Cliff Notes version of what's worked for me, what I've witnessed in the industry. And I really am, my goal is to like publish this as a book, and not just to do with the virus, but the new normal and the industry in general and what have you. So I've rambled on enough. Let me shut my mouth. And if there's anything you guys have to say or any questions, I'm done I'm done hearing myself speak for a moment.
You're so funny. First, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Big
Thank you,
love. People feel like a big shout out to you. We break and repair, and like a tree, we grow stronger.
Oh, I love that.
So
Amen.
lots of love. Fran says you are a Wonder Woman.
A very emotional Wonder Woman, but thank you, Fran. It is okay.
That's okay.
It is.
I think that's a strong Wonder Woman.
It is
an
a
emotional
strong Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And then Rebecca,
Thank
you do another thing called something and share.
Oh, Therapy. Okay, so
Yeah.
I have budgeted. There are certain things that financials. I'm not gonna bitch, but financials are rough. Still paying rent on a salon and an apartment in West Hollywood, but I'm not gonna complain. I have a roof over my head. I'm grateful. I have opportunities. However, I'm budgeting because we don't know how long this is gonna go on. But one thing I am not going to do without is therapy. That is one thing that I'll do without. My whatever snacks for a week before I do without therapy. So when I get therapy, a lot of my concerns and issues are a lot of my peers' issues as well. So I will have my therapy session and I will go live right afterwards, and I will share everything my therapist shared with me, and I call it Therapy. And since I paid for it and it's budgeted for me, and maybe some people don't have that in their budget, let me save you some coin, babes, and I'll just share my therapy with y'all, and then we have a discussion about it. And that's what I do because I feel like it's important. I mean, I make no claim that I'm a therapist. I'm like, this is what she told me. This is how I have translated it and how it, it pertains to my life and probably you guys' situation. But this is just the information and the advice that she's given me. And between the advice you, Sheri, you've given me and my therapist, Pam, has given me, I share all that. You guys know I put every little possible thing detail of my life on my social, but it's cathartic, it's therapeutic, and I've done it since as long as I can remember, and I'm not going to stop doing it now.
That's right. That's right. I love it. I think there's earlier you said you have to curate what you're watching on social. And I loved that because, if you don't, you just get bombarded with all of this other stuff.
Yeah.
But we curate our content to put up there. We should curate what we're receiving on our other end and what we're scrolling through and engaging in as well, because that does sort of imprint in us in one way, shape, or form.
Exactly.
Everyone that's watching is loving this so much. They love how
thank you guys.
Make sure you're following Rebecca, obviously at Rebecca Taylor Hair, which is on the I don't know why I'm looking down there. That's where the comments are coming in, but nobody can see me. But Rebecca, I love the Sherapy. I love everything that you're doing online.
Thank you.
I love what you're doing to help others. And I know that you're going to continue to be a guiding light for those that need it, which is something that you said that you wanted to do, was to share with people who are, number one, going through what you're going through, because if you're learning something, you can help them learn something, and that you can also maybe help them from getting to a place that you've been in the past. And I think your experiences and you sharing them from a very real place is a very good thing. So never censor your realness.
Thank you.
Ashley says you're one of the kindest people ever.
Aww.
So you're so sweet. I know. See, she cries when she's happy too. So it's all good. There's lots of tears. She didn't wear glitter or eyelashes today.
I was going to, but we had a technical difficulty, and here I am trying to, deal with the audio and the visual, and I'm trying to slather glitter on for you, and I'm like, listen, I gotta, prioritize. So this was the priority.
Yeah, and I'm glad, because I don't know what that would have looked like had it, I think it was the perfect thing to have happened. You are a sweet, sweet, kind soul.
Thank you.
I'm so glad that you shared your time with us today, and that thank you to the Wolf and White team for getting all of the technical shit worked out.
Yes, sorry about that. That could have been on my end. I don't know, but it worked out.
Yeah, no, it worked out. It was a great thing to end on. It says here that you are the lighthouse in other people's storms. So with that,
I love that.
Before I lose it,
I'm getting verklempt. Talk amongst yourselves. Hold on. Okay. Anyway, you guys are so kind. I really appreciate it. I'm just going to keep doing what I do. I mean, it may not always be pretty, or it ain't going to be polished, but it is what it is. And I appreciate all of the love so much. And I appreciate this opportunity. I've been looking forward to this since you told me I was going to do it. And then when Wolf and it's Steve, I'll just say Steve instead of Wolf and White. He was like, send me a picture of you. We'll just do audio. And I'm like, no, I dressed up for the occasion. I still have my yoga clothes on, but anyway. And I was like, do I have to get dressed up? And he's like, be authentic. I was like, okay.
You only gotta tell me once, huh?
You don't have to tell me at all, actually. Anyhow, okay. I appreciate you guys so much. I love you so much. I don't know what's gonna happen in the future with shows and events, but one of my favorite things to do, it's hair shows, and it's connecting with people. But I feel like the new normal, we can still connect even though we're not physically connecting.
Yes.
You know what? Talk about paradigm shift or whatever, people have mentioned before. This is the shift of all shifts, and we have so much power to connect digitally and still educate. So while there may not be shows, to be safe, I'm just so excited to be a part of this new normal and to educate and share. And I want to do more R&Bs. I want to do Redken shit. I want to do anything, everything. I just want to do it all. I just want to share. So
yeah, well, don't you worry about it. You absolutely will.
Yeah.
And
thank you.
We are going to find ways to be powerful and touch more in this now normal. And
You guys have been so, I don't mean, I apologize for interrupting, but I have to say this, Sheri, and to you, Alfredo, you guys totally led the way in this free education movement with R&B. And I know how hard you work because I speak to both of you frequently. You guys work from the moment you wake up to, I'm like texting Alfredo and he's like, I'm still doing this. And Sheri, she finds the time to speak with me, but she's like, it's going to be like 12. Is that okay? I'm like, you guys have put in insane amounts of work doing this and supporting stylists and just being amazing from the beginning. And, you know, just the resources and just thank you both. Seriously. Why am I crying? Thank you guys so much.
Oh, it's our
all that you
pleasure.
do.
It's our pleasure.
It
And and it's actually what we both you know, have in our hearts as our mission statement, which is to help other people to live best. And that's, I'm not saying that because that's a Redken thing, Alfredo. It's
No.
it was a Sherry thing long before it was a Redken thing.
No, I
Sorry.
agree.
I have phantom spirit moves from the shows.
Yeah, no, don't worry about it. You'll see them come back.
I'm ready.
Some guests that are saying, obviously sending love, and that this is the last Monday that because they're going back to work. First of all, congratulations. Please be safe as you go back to work.
Please.
And also not to, you know, don't worry if you miss it because it's always going to be on the playlist and you can always watch it later when you get back from work. In case you miss us, Liza, and you want to be near to us after you go back to work, you can do that. You can visit Alfredo tomorrow, Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern time, New York time, on his page on Instagram, and then on Thursdays with me, where we do a little between the spill the tea and between the sparkle. We had to make it fun.
That was fun. That was a fun one. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't worry. There's going to be more. Good. And Rebecca, you're awesome. Thank you so much for being such a great light to all of us and to everyone out there. And please make sure everybody, you're just checking in on Rebecca's page often, because everyone's saying that they will for sure. So thank you, Rebecca.
We love
We're sending love. I'm going in for a hug.
I know.
Not too close. Never too close. Bye, Rebecca. Thank you.
Bye, babe. Thank you so much.
They'll stop you. They'll stop you. So, Alfredo, that was, it actually, you know, I always say that things work out for a reason and you don't know the reason as you're going through them. And in some cases you're like, WTF is going on because this feels like shit. But then when you look back, you're like, that's why. And in all of that, I know that Rebecca was probably freaking out and worried about not getting on. And yet I think it was the perfect place to sort of finalize this episode or this segment, if you will. Again, so much love still coming in for Rebecca, and she's such a star. You make me feel like a friend, even though I don't know you. That's a good compliment. Is how can we connect with people and make them feel good, even though we're doing it through this device. So So remind us, Alfredo, who do you have tomorrow with you? Constance?
I know, I'm like, that was, so tomorrow I have Constance Robbins. We have on Spill the Tea. You and I chat and catch up with everybody, have our thought of the day.
Yes.
Constance Robbins, and we're going to have Patty Rodriguez. So I'm so excited to have these ladies joining tomorrow. They're going to be doing hair tips and tricks and hair hacks tomorrow. So super excited to have both of them.
They're so amazing, those ladies. Not only their talent, but also just their sheer energy. Patty and I end up on the same lives sometimes, the Spanish ones. And, you know, she'll end up saying hi to me. We notice that each other are on there. And I think that's so cute.
they're so talented, and they are so supportive. I see them on everyone's lives. They're on all of our lives, on your page, my page. I see them when I see the artists from the brand, what I'm checking out, what the educators are doing. I always see them cheering everybody on, and they're so talented. So I'm really excited to have them get to come on and catch up tomorrow.
I am super excited for that as well. So please, everybody here, make sure that if you missed any of this episode, then please go back. There's so much going on. Make sure you visit the Matrix Biolage, the Redken Matrix and Biolage pages.
Yeah, I know. Wait, what just happened?
You can. I know. I'm like, what? I had to do it in the R&B thing. So the Redken Matrix and Biolage pages, they have tons of education that is happening on a daily basis. I know Mustafa was on his own Instagram doing a demonstration at 2:00 today. You'll want to go back and see it, because that man, what he does with hair, I don't even know how.
Please go watch it.
You know, how do you get hair to look like that? I have no idea, but he does. He's got magic hands, and he's sharing that. Later tonight, there's a Back to Business episode with Redken. I think it's at 5, and then
5 p.m.
Redken Exchange tomorrow. We've got Dan Chichai is doing something tomorrow at 2:00 as well. So as soon as you're done with Alfredo, you can hop on that. And I'm sure I said his name wrong. How do you say his name?
Dan Chichai.
Okay, I said it right. And then, of course, another, if you're looking for a guiding light, you've got, grounding, hot tips in general about yourself and maybe getting over some struggles. You have, of course, the beautiful Rebecca Taylor we just saw. And then also we have Tabitha. Tabitha goes live every single day and answers questions as well. So lots of resources out there. I know people are concerned about going back and missing those resources, but in general, they stay up on their pages, either on their IGTV in stories, or of course here all on our YouTube channel. They stay up there as well. And Franz is asking, is it tomorrow yet? We've got a couple more things to complete before we get to you tomorrow. But as always, looking forward to it. Alfredo, thank you for being the best co-host and friend and partner in crime ever.
Likewise.
And to all of the teams who are back in the back making this happen, the Wolf and White team, of course, Casey Yee, Conrad, Noah Worrell, just an amazing group of people who want nothing more than to serve everyone here. So with that, Alfredo, any last words before we say adios?
No, just thank you, Sheri, for everything, there was so much more to say. You always teach me about my vessel and protecting my vessel, because we're so similar. You give so much of yourself to this industry, and it's, we have to be able to receive so that we can keep giving. And I don't know about you, but I receive so much from this every week, from the artists just being here and sharing their knowledge and their insights. It fills me back up, so that we can keep doing what we're doing. So thank you for everything. You're amazing, and you are the best partner in crime as too. So back at ya.
Thank you, Alfredo. Anyone watching by his vessel, what he means is just what he takes in, his energy and his soul. So yes, I help him to learn how to manage his vessel. Just in case you were wondering, that's what
I know, right? Sorry guys, just so you know, but I was thinking that during Rebecca, because that's what happened with her. That's what, when she was telling her story, I was thinking about what you told me. And you always tell me to write my gratitude, my journal, and she was doing the same. So just, thank you for that, because you're behind the scenes. This woman, besides out forefront, is helping us all get through the day. And I was thinking about her. Your words were in my mind a lot while she was talking about that, about her giving so much of herself, because she's so kind and her heart's so big, but she's got to remember to be protective so she can keep giving, so
same for you, my friend. Same for you. Big hearts. How do you protect them? So with that, we love you guys. We'll see you on the next one, or we'll see you tomorrow on Alfredo. With that, thank you.
Love you, Sheri.
Love you too.